Chapter 886. Yulongfei's eyes were still filled with fear. It was as if he had walked on the edge of life and death. If his opponent had not held back and changed the direction of his attack, his nascent soul might not have been able to escape. What he had just used was a secret technique passed down from generation to generation in the Heavenly Sword clan. It could temporarily add the sharpness of the Sword Valley to the nascent soul. This way, when the nascent soul attacked, it would be able to absorb the heaven and earth yuan qi, greatly increasing the magical power. With Yulongfei's mid-nascent soul, stage magical power, and the support of the heaven and earth yuan qi, his strength directly approached that of a grand cultivator. Then, after he used the 10,000 swords returned to one divine ability of the heavenly fault sword, the power of his attack was further enhanced. Yulongfei believed that the power of his attack was definitely not inferior to any grand cultivator's magical power. However, such a terrifying attack was not able to do anything to the owner of the body refining pavilion. Instead, it was forcefully absorbed by his strange magical power, binding his 10,000 swords returned to one divine ability to the fist of his physical body. The power of the attack that contained the heaven and earth yuan qi, coupled with the opponent's terrifying physical strength, was extremely terrifying. It easily knocked away his defensive magic treasure and shattered his defensive barrier. The astonishing treasure light that was emitted from Lu Kuan's body also made him understand why the Heavenly Fault Sword had issued a warning. This person actually had more than 200 mature magic treasures in his body. How did he nurture so many magic treasures? It was simply unheard of. Could it be that these mature magic treasures were the true heritage left behind by the Yang clan? However, why did he not use them to attack during the battle? Even at the last moment, he only emitted a large amount of treasure light. Could it be that he used the power of the magic treasures to add to the defensive power of his physical body? Just as Yulongfei's thoughts were racing, the deep wounds on Lu Kuan's body that were so deep that the bones could be seen squirmed rapidly. The flesh inside was stitched up like cloth, and muscle fibers appeared on the bony hand. Du Gufeng hurriedly flew in front of Yulongfei. His expression was as if he was facing a great enemy. He stared fixedly at Lu Kuan, and the three green swords circled in front of him. Lu Kuan chuckled. With a wave of his hand, the 6 flying swords around him were suspended in the air by an invisible force. He then used his divine sense to examine them one by one. When Yulongfei saw this scene, he hesitated for a moment and did not move. He allowed Lu Kuan to control his intrinsic dermic sword as he took out several recovery pills and swallowed them. After a while, his complexion gradually became rosy, and he slowly said, "Many thanks to Master Lu for showing mercy. This you admit's defeat." When Lu Kuan heard this, he gently waved his hand, and the 6 small bronze swords were tossed to Yulongfei. The latter withdrew his hand seal, and the set of swords combined into a broadsword light, which entered Yulongfei's body. Then, the air around Lu Kuan's legs twisted and a shadow flashed past. The burly figure appeared in front of the 2 nascent soul stage sword cultivators of the Heavenly Sword sect. The pressure of a ferocious beast rushed towards them. Du Gufeng's expression was extremely frightened. He did not expect Lu Kuan to have such terrifying speed. The bracelet on his hands lit up with a yellow halo, which instantly enveloped him and Yulongfei. The 3 green swords trembled slightly and turned into green sword light that entered the defensive halo. When Yulongfei saw Du Gufeng's series of actions, he revealed a trace of a bitter smile and said, "Shitty, if Master Lu wanted to harm us, he would have killed me just now. Put it away." Du Gufeng hesitated for a moment, then looked at Lu Kuan in front of him and withdrew his defensive spell. The green longsword magic treasure also turned into sword light that entered his body. However, he and Yulongfei's own mana shield did not withdraw. Lu Kuan looked at Du Gufeng's magic treasure that could turn into sword light and clicked his tongue. The Heavenly Sword sect sword refining technique is indeed unique. It has greatly opened Lu's eyes. Since Taoist, you has admitted defeat, Then what about your sect's sword core formation technique? Yu Longfei sighed softly and said, This technique is the sect's core technique. I admit defeat and can give it to Master Lu, but I hope that Taoist you will not pass it on to others. Lu Kuan said seriously, Rest assured, Taoist you. Lu is only using it as a reference. He wants to integrate its essence into his body refining technique. Even if he passes it on to the disciples of the body refining pavilion, it will already be completely different from your sect's technique. Yu Longfei nodded lightly. He had already expected this. From this body refining pavilion master's abilities, the body refining art was definitely an incomparably powerful technique. How could he cultivate the heavenly sword sect's sword arts? He said, Then I will pass it on to Master Lu through my consciousness. Lu Kuan smiled and said, Since Taoist you has agreed, there is no need to rush. After the exchange, just now, I wonder what Taoist Yu's judgment of Lu's strength is. Yu Longfei saw that Lu Kuan's body had completely recovered in just a few sentences. Even the flesh on his hands had been regenerated. The corner of his mouth twitched, and he said, This is the first time I have seen Taoist use physical body technique. With Master Lu's physical defense and indestructible body technique, coupled with his terrifying speed, I believe that Master Lu can completely entangle Shi Jingtian. He paused for a moment before continuing. In this battle, Pavilion Master Lu was on the defensive the entire time. Only in the end did you use my 10,000 swords as one to counterattack. However, I believe that Pavilion Master Lu's physical attack power is no weaker than any mid-nascent soul stage cultivator. Lu Kuan smirked and asked, Taoist you, if the two of us work together, what kind of battle strength do you think we could display? Yu Longfei was taken aback. Then, his expression became a little excited. The Heavenly Sword sect had many top-notch sword techniques and even powerful sword formations. However, these techniques took a long time to cast. In a battle between nascent soul stage cultivators, they were almost never used. Lu Kuan's defense was not only amazing, but his explosive speed was probably faster than a peak nascent soul stage cultivator. With such a person protecting him, Yu Longfei would have enough time and opportunity to display his powerful sword techniques. That's right, he could even use his powerful sword techniques on Lu Kuan to increase his attack power. If the two of them worked together, their strength would definitely not be as simple as 1 + 1. On the side, De Gufeng also revealed an excited expression. If he worked together with the owner of the body refining pavilion, he could even easily display a sword technique above the mid-nascent soul stage. Lu Kuan looked at the two's expressions and said meaningfully, If the body cultivator disciples of the body refining pavilion and the sword cultivator of the heavenly sword sect work together, what would happen? Yu Longfei and De Gufeng's expressions changed completely. Judging from the abilities of the owner of the body refining pavilion, the disciples of the body refining pavilion would definitely have astonishing defense and speed. If a sword cultivator and a body cultivator of the same level worked together, they would probably be able to kill an enemy 2 levels above them. An early foundation establishment stage cultivator could deal with a late foundation establishment stage cultivator, and an early core formation stage cultivator could deal with a late core formation stage cultivator. The benefits of this in a battle between two sects were self-evident. Yu Longfei let out a deep breath and said, I finally understand why Master Lu came to my heavenly sword sect. Sword cultivators have powerful attack power, and body cultivators have astonishing defense power. If the two sects work together, their strength would more than double. I just don't know how many disciples the body refining pavilion has. Lu Kuan laughed loudly and said, Since Taoist you has thought of this, then we can continue to discuss in detail. This is not the place for discussion. Yu Longfei cupped his hands and said, Master Lu, please follow me back to the Heavenly Sword Peak. My sect has a few unique wines that I would like to invite Master Lu to have a taste. Then I'll have to trouble the two of you. Afterwards, the two nascent soul stage sword cultivators of the Heavenly Sword sect led Lu Kuan towards the sky of the Valley of Swords. During the spar just now, Yu Longfei tried to kill his opponent ruthlessly. In the end, Lu Kuan spared his life. This result made Yu Longfei feel extremely uneasy. Even if it was extremely difficult to deal with the miraculous gate, he had to accept it. Otherwise, if he angered such a terrifying expert, he and Dugufeng would probably be killed on the spot. First, he set a small goal. For example, 1 second. Remember, book guest residence. Chapter 887. In a pavilion at the top of the Sky Sword Peak, Lu Kuan held a small wine cup in his hand. There was a light green liquid in the cup, and a rich wine aroma wafted out. At the same time, there was a faintly discernible, sharp aura. Lu Kuan smacked his lips and said, "Fellow Taoist use green essence sword wine is truly extraordinary. In addition to the mellow taste, there is also a sharp aura circulating throughout the body. I'm afraid it's very precious to sword cultivators." Yu Longfei looked at the second cup of wine in Lu Kuan's hand and said with some heartache, "Master Lu, my green essence sword wine uses herbs unique to the Valley of Swords and fuses a trace of sharpness into it. It can refine a core formation sword cultivator's sword intent. It's a pity that the sharpness of the wine is such that only late core formation realm sword cultivators can barely take a sip. Otherwise, their golden core would be damaged. Even junior martial brother Dugu, and I can only drink 1 cup a year at most." When Lu Kuan heard this, he revealed an inexplicable heartache and said, "In other words, fellow Taoist use green essence sword wine is equivalent to a top-grade pill for sword cultivators. It's a waste for Lu to drink it. Fellow Taoist, you should change to an ordinary sword origin wine." With that said, Lu Kuan immediately took out a jade bottle. In front of Yu Longfei and Dugufeng, he poured the wine into the bottle and put down the empty cup. Faced with Lu Kuan's bandit behavior, Yu Longfei's mouth twitched. He didn't say anything and quickly put away the wine jug on the stone table and replaced it with an ordinary sword origin wine. Yu Longfei took out the green essence sword wine as a test. Even he could only drink a small sip a year. Otherwise, his meridians would be damaged. He had just used a secret technique in the Valley of Swords, so he wouldn't be able to drink the green essence sword wine for the next 10 years. Lu Kuan wasn't a sword cultivator, but he could casually drink an entire cup. One could imagine how tough his meridians were. If Yu Longfei's meridians were as tough as his, then he could use the secret technique in the sect and try to break through to the late nascent soul stage. Yu Longfei thought and poured a cup of sword origin wine for the 3 of them. "I don't know if Master Lu knows the strength of the miraculous gate. It won't be easy for us to deal with them." Lu took a sip of the wine. "Of the miraculous gate's understanding of the miraculous gate, but I saw Shi Jingtian's injuries. With my own eyes, I've seen the miraculous gate." Yu Longfei nodded and said, "Before Master Lu came to visit, junior brother Dugu and I were discussing the miraculous gate. Why don't you introduce it to Master Lu? Then I'll have to trouble you, Taoist." Dugu Feng sorted out his thoughts and said, "Since the miraculous gate took over the entire Lu state, its strength has increased rapidly. It has been split into 2 major sections. The Devil Sect specializes in demonic arts and is located in the Yunling Mountains, while the Spirit Sect is located in the Yang Mountains. The number of nascent soul stage cultivators in the miraculous gate is the highest in Wei State. Other than Old Devil Shi, there are 4 other nascent soul stage cultivators. Yu Yinxing is in charge of the Devil Sect and cultivates demonic arts. Many years ago, senior brother, you met this person. It is very likely that he has entered the middle nascent soul stage. Lu Yang is a newly ascended nascent soul stage cultivator after the miraculous gate annihilated the Yang clan. He was only 300 years old when he formed his nascent soul. He can be said to be a genius." Dugufeng could not help but look at Lu Kuan. If they were talking about geniuses, this Master Lu was only 200 years old. He even created an unheard-of body-tempering immortal cultivation technique. Compared to him, Lu Yang was like the difference between heaven and earth. He continued, "Although Lu Yang is very talented, His cultivation in the nascent soul stage is very slow. He is still in the early nascent soul stage. Including Old Devonshire, the three of them are cultivating in the Yunling Mountains. The remaining two early nascent soul stage cultivators, Fairy Feng and Zhongling Feng, are cultivating their mana and guarding the spirit sect. Lu Kuan's expression changed. He suddenly said, "These people can't be cultivating in seclusion all the time, right?" Dugu Feng was stunned. Then he understood Lu Kuan's meaning. He smiled bitterly and said, "With the abilities of nascent soul stage cultivators, even if they leave, the disciples in the sect will not notice anything. It is very difficult to ambush a nascent soul stage cultivator." Yu Longfei's eyes brightened slightly and said, "Junior, that is not necessarily the case. Master Lu's abilities are very shocking. He can easily enter the Heavenly Sword Peak, and the Miraculous Gates Spirit Sect is located in the Yayang Mountains. It is not impossible." Lu Kuan smiled and said, "Lu's technique is very special. Normal restrictions are not effective. That is why he can enter the Heavenly Sword Peak. If the two of you add other high-level restrictions on the Heavenly Sword Peak, I am afraid that Lu will be detected immediately. As for how to deal with the Miraculous Gates nascent soul stage cultivators, Lu has some ideas. I will discuss it with the two of you later. Now, please tell me about the strength of core formation stage cultivators." Dugu Feng drank a mouthful of sword origin wine and continued, "These years, because the Miraculous Gate is very powerful, the core formation stage cultivators have not hidden themselves. There are 22 of them. Among them, there are 4 late core formation stage cultivators. Master Lu should have seen them before." Lu revealed a curious expression and said, "Who are they?" Dugu Feng paused and said, "Among the 4, the one with the highest cultivation level is Song Li. It is said that because he was a spy in the Shangqing sect, he has been cultivating in seclusion all these years. He might have already reached the peak of the core formation stage. The second one is Li Wan, who infiltrated the Yang clan. According to our sect's disciples, Li Wan failed to break through to the nascent soul stage. However, due to the special nature of her spiritual body, her cultivation level is barely maintained at the late core formation stage. The third one is Luo Yueqi. When the Luo clan betrayed the Yang clan, they merged with the Miraculous Gate. Luo Yueqi should have obtained great benefits. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to advance from the early core formation stage to the late core formation stage in just over 100 years. At this point, Dugu Feng's expression became a bit strange. The 4th late core formation stage demonic cultivator is Shun Mingyao of the Miraculous Gate. It is said that this woman has an extreme Yin body. She just advanced to the late core formation stage not long ago. She is the core formation stage cultivator with the most potential in the Miraculous Gate. As Dugu Feng spoke, he observed Lu Kuan's expression. He once heard from his disciples that Lu Kuan of the Yang clan's weapon refining peak seemed to have some kind of special relationship with Shin Mingyao. Lu Kuan's expression didn't change. He poured himself another cup of sword source wine and said, "It should be said that there are 3 late core formation stage cultivators. Lu met Song Li many years ago in the state of Qi and killed him. So, it seems that our core formation stage cultivators combined shouldn't be weaker than the Miraculous Gate." Yu Longfei didn't know about the rumors about Lu Kuan and Shun Mingyao. He said with interest, "I wonder how many core formation stage body cultivators there are in the body refining pavilion." Lu Kuan drank the wine in his cup and said, "Although there are only 3 core formation stage body cultivators in the body refining pavilion, in terms of combat power, they are not weaker than those in the middle core formation stage." Lu also has 3 disciples who are in the great circle of the foundation building stage. They will try to make a breakthrough in the next few years. Yu Longfei and Dugu Feng were surprised. The body refining pavilion was a new sect that should have only been established for about 100 years. Apart from Lu Kuan, who was a nascent soul stage cultivator, it actually had several core formation stage cultivators. Obviously, it was developing very smoothly. Lu Kuan continued, "Apart from the body refining pavilion, the Treasure Pavilion, which inherited the traditions of the Yang clan, also has 4 core formation stage cultivators. No, it should be 5. One of them even formed his gold core using the ancient method of condensing his gold core. He is a powerful cultivator at the peak of the middle core formation stage. He suddenly remembered that old Demon Pang had already released Zhu Siming. Perhaps this powerful master of the crafting peak had already met up with Qin Yushu and the others. Yulongfei's eyes flashed with surprise. Our sect has 15 core formation stage sword cultivators. Together with Master Lu's men, we are already on par with the miraculous gate. If the core formation stage body cultivators and sword cultivators work together with the Green Alliance, as long as we suppress the miraculous gate's nascent soul stage cultivators, we might actually have a chance to eliminate them. Lu Kuan's lips curled into a cold smile. Fellow Taoist, you are wrong. We do not need the Green Alliance's help. Yulongfei seemed to have thought of something. His expression changed slightly. Master Lu, you mean? Lu Kuan's voice was incomparably cold. Fellow Taoist, don't you think this is a good opportunity to reshuffle the cards? Without the Green Alliance and the Demon Spirit sect, each of our sects would have more resources than the Shangqing sect in the past. Hearing this, Yulongfei's heart turned cold. Then, he saw a light flash in Lu Kuan's hand. A black stone the size of a watermelon appeared. There was an indescribable aura surrounding it. Yulongfei's eyes narrowed as he probed it with his divine sense. Is this the seed stone of the Oath Stone? Or is it a blank restriction? Lu Kuan nodded. That's right. If the time limit is controlled within 100 years, this seed stone can form a contract restriction with many conditions. With this, fellow Taoist, you should feel assured to form an alliance with us. Yulongfei drank a mouthful of sword origin wine. His expression relaxed a lot. He was indeed worried that Master Lu would use the miraculous gate as an excuse to attack the Heavenly Sword sect. After all, in terms of strength, even if he and Dugu Feng teamed up, they would not be a match for Master Lu. If they used the seed stone of the Oath Stone to form an alliance, he would feel much more at ease. The restriction of such a strange treasure was difficult to violate even for soul formation stage cultivators. Chapter 888. Lu Kuan looked at Yulongfei's relaxed expression, and his eyes flashed with an imperceptible coldness. He smiled and said, Fellow Taoist, with the addition of the Treasure Tool Pavilion, Lu can't make the decision for them. Therefore, this alliance contract will be signed when Lu brings them here. Yulongfei curiously asked, Master Lu, I wonder how much of the Treasure Tool Pavilion inherited from the Yang clan's refining techniques? Lu Kuan mysteriously smiled, and a light flashed in his hand. A dark purple staff and a black armor appeared, exuding an amazing light. He said, These are made by Lu and the Treasure Tool Pavilion. Please evaluate them. Yulongfei and Dugu Feng felt the strong aura of the magic treasures and used their divine sense to examine them. They were both surprised. These are spiritual magic treasures? The Treasure Tool Pavilion can actually refine spiritual magic treasures. Even the people from the tool refining peak found it difficult to refine them. That's right. These are spiritual magic treasures for attack and defense. Lu Kuan admitted. He looked at the purple firmament staff and black spirit armor and felt that it was a pity. With the tyrannical demonic energy, these carefully refined spiritual magic treasures couldn't be used. He had to quickly research how to refine bone transformation weapons. If he had a weapon that could withstand demonic energy, Lu Kuan's strength could be further improved, and he would be more confident in dealing with Shi Jingtian. As the thought flashed through his mind, Lu Kuan waved his hand and put away the magic treasures. The battle between sects is inevitable. The matter of refining the battleships will be handed over to the Treasure Tool Pavilion. Yulongfei and Dugu Feng looked at each other in disbelief. Could it be that the disciples that left the Yang clan were all top refining geniuses? Or did the Yang clan have a new refining technique? Lu Kuan continued, Since fellow Taoist, you has no objection to the alliance, then I, Lu, will bring my fellow disciples to visit you next time and discuss how to deal with the miraculous gate together. Yulongfei nodded gently and raised his wine cup. The three of them drained it in one gulp and reached a preliminary consensus. After pouring the wine to the brim, Yu Longfei suddenly said, "That's right, Master Lu, please release your consciousness. I will teach you the method of condensing a sword core." Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a hint of curiosity. The huge spiritual sense of the middle stage of the nascent soul stage came out of his body and converged with Yu Longfei in the pavilion. On the side, De Gufeng silently drank the wine in his cup. His mind was filled with thousands of thoughts. With the appearance of a powerful cultivator like Lu Kuan and a sect like the Body Refining Pavilion, he didn't know how the Heavenly Sword sect would interact with each other in the future. He didn't know why, but he had a faint premonition that Lu Kuan, a top genius with the demeanor of a sect founder, must have great ambitions. After this person left, he had to have a good discussion with Senior Brother Yu. After a quarter of an hour, the two tyrannical spiritual senses slowly dissipated. Lu Kuan revealed a surprised expression and said, "The Heavenly Sword sect's techniques are indeed unique. They can actually condense a golden core with such an unimaginable method and generate a sword intent. And with a sword intent, a core formation stage sword cultivator can summon sword chi. Together with a sword-type magical weapon, they can display all kinds of powerful sword techniques. If Lu didn't guess wrongly, this sword intent is equivalent to a mutated element. It has refined the sharpness of the metal element to the extreme. The sword intent is probably not inferior to any other element." Yu Longfei's eyes flashed with a hint of pride. "That's right. That's why all the disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect have metal element spiritual roots. The foundation establishment stage is the process of sword cultivators refining their metal element spiritual energy. The higher the spiritual energy, the sharper and purer the metal element. And when they reach the great circle of foundation establishment, other than being able to condense a golden core, they also meet the requirements to condense a sword intent imprint." Lu Kuan revealed a surprised expression and said, "Condensing a golden core requires both crystallizing spiritual energy and condensing a sword intent imprint at the same time. The difficulty is much higher than normal core formation stage techniques. And yet, the Heavenly Sword sect has 15 core formation stage sword cultivators. It's really unbelievable." Yu Longfei smiled and said, "The Heavenly Sword sect specializes in the way of the sword. It has been passed down for many years. Other than the experiences of many seniors in the core formation stage, there are also supplementary techniques. Moreover, the strength of the Heavenly Sword sect now is probably the most prosperous in thousands of years." Lu Kuan's expression changed and said, "I wonder what supplementary techniques the Heavenly Sword sect has. Can you let Lu learn?" Yu Longfei said, "Actually, all the immortal cultivation sects in the Wei Nation know that our sect's disciples use the same sword from the Qi refinement stage to the great circle of foundation establishment. Even if we enter the core formation stage to refine a magical weapon, we still need to integrate the original sword into it." Lu Kuan said thoughtfully, "Could it be that we use the special characteristics of the magical weapon to assist sword cultivators in condensing a sword intent imprint?" Yu Longfei nodded and said, "That's right. Our sect has a sword nurturing technique that uses the sharp aura of the magical sword to assist in condensing a sword intent imprint." At this point, Yu Longfei revealed a look of yearning and said, "It is said that in ancient times, there were genius sword cultivators who were proficient in the sword nurturing technique. They were able to comprehend the profundity of sword intent at the beginning of the foundation establishment stage. They were able to condense a sword intent imprint in their dantian and cultivate the mana of sword intent. As their cultivation level increased, the sword intent of these genius sword cultivators became more and more powerful. They could even kill core formation stage cultivators in the later stages of the foundation establishment stage. Their attack power was terrifying." Lu Kuan asked curiously, "Comprehending sword intent at the foundation establishment stage and forming a sword intent imprint should be of great help in condensing a sword core. Yu Longfei said with some emotion. It's not just a little help. Normally, sword intent is a high-level attribute that will only appear when condensing a sword core. If one comprehended sword intent at the foundation establishment stage, then they can completely use sword intent to guide the crystallization of mana and greatly increase the chances of condensing a sword core. When Lu Kuan heard this, he raised his wine cup and said, I won't hide it from fellow Daoist Yu. The reason why Lu asked fellow Daoist Yu for this sword core condensation technique is actually to help a disciple break through to the core formation stage. Yu Longfei and Lu Kuan clinked their wine cups and asked curiously, Master Lu means to increase the chances of breaking through by condensing a sword intent imprint into a sword core? But this method is only useful for condensing a sword core. Could it be that Master Lu's disciple doesn't cultivate body refining techniques, but condenses a sword core? Lu Kuan deduced the sword core condensation technique in his mind and slowly said, although it's not condensing a sword core, it's somewhat similar. I heard that the Valley of Swords can help the disciples of the Heavenly Sword Gate comprehend sword intent. I wonder if, fellow Taoist, you can give Lu's disciple the opportunity to enter the Valley of Swords. Yu Longfei was slightly surprised and took a sip of sword origin wine. He said, arranging for a person to enter the Valley of Swords is simple for me. However, it will have to be 5 years later. That's when the sharpness of the Valley of Swords will be at its lowest. Lu Kuan thought for a moment and understood. Although the sharpness of the Valley of Swords didn't actively attack, even his mid-nascent soul stage spiritual sense felt a bit of stinging pain. Perhaps cultivators below the core formation stage would find it difficult to bear. He raised his wine cup and said, Then I thank fellow Taoist Yu. Yu Longfei returned the toast and said, You're too polite. However, when it comes to cultivation, I also have a matter that I would like to ask Master Lu. Lu Kuan put down his wine cup and said with a bitter smile, Lu's cultivation method is different from normal cultivators. I'm afraid he won't be able to give me any inspiration. Yu Longfei filled both of their wine cups and shook his head. He said, the problem I ask is related to the physical body. I'm afraid only Master Lu has a solution. Lu Kuan was somewhat curious and said, If that's the case, fellow Taoist, you might as well tell me. Yu Longfei rubbed his wine cup and said slowly, Master Lu also knows that sword intent exerts the metal element to the extreme. It's a strange, kind of incomparably sharp magic power. In the process of cultivation, sword intent exerts great pressure and damage on the meridians. Sword cultivators often have no choice but to slow down their cultivation speed because of the nourishment of the meridians. The nourishment of the meridians is extremely slow. If one wants to speed up their cultivation, they have to take all kinds of special pills to strengthen the meridians. However, as one's cultivation increases, high-grade pills become rarer and their effects greatly decrease. Yu Longfei paused and said with a serious expression, I would like to ask Master Lu if there are any methods of strengthening the meridians in the body cultivation method. If there are, I'm willing to exchange any secret techniques of the Heavenly Rapier sect. Lu Kuan revealed a look of understanding. He knew that the Heavenly Rapier sect was extremely thirsty for drugs that strengthened the meridians. Back then, they even used the earth fruit to deceive Foundation establishment sword cultivators. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan revealed a pleasant smile. Fellow Taoist Yu, can you describe the requirements of the meridians in each realm of sword cultivation? After Lu understands clearly, he can judge whether the body cultivation method is helpful. Hearing this, Yu Longfei and De Gufeng both became spirited and began to describe in detail. Chapter 889. Speaking of which, recently, many readers have seen the latest chapters. I need to pay attention to the matter of the stable updates. Although work is very busy, as a single dog, I still have some time on the weekends. Thus, I intend to increase my efficiency while ensuring the quality of the chapters. I set a small goal for updating. From today onwards, I will update 10 chapters every week. If I don't update enough during the weekdays, I will make up for it during the weekends. Yep, if this small goal is stable, I could try to break through the bottleneck of the second update beast. As for the rules for updating more chapters, I have looked at the other books. The guild master has to update more chapters. If I update more chapters, it means that I have to take a leave of absence. If I take a leave of absence, I should be able to update twice. Yep, then I will be the guild master and update twice. Speaking of guild master, I think of Adept. Adept still owes me 17 chapters. How pitiful. He probably won't even play Hearthstone anymore. Ha ha. Alright, I don't count the rewards I give myself because I will continue to spend money on the Silver Guild's full-screen advertisements next month. Some of the trolls are very strange. They actually think that the good reviews in the book review section are done by the trolls. I find it strange. Hiring a trolls is not as simple and crude as hiring a trolls. The book review section is filled with honest reviews from the readers. I will only delete the spoilers or impolite ones. Some of the readers don't have any fan points. I understand. When I was in school, I also looked down on the official books. However, I hope that these readers can vote and support the physique cultivator. Returning to the main topic, I will update 10 times a week. The update time is not fixed. First, I will set a small goal. For example, 1 second. Remember, reader's residence. Chapter 890. An ordinary spirit boat was flying in the air above the land of death. Lu Kuan stood at the front, his eyes flashing with a golden light. His palms were sometimes clenched into fists, sometimes open into palms. The air around him was constantly twisting, occasionally emitting explosive sounds. At the back of the spirit boat, Huang Xiaoyun sat cross-legged, one hand pressing down on the flying boat's control rune. He looked at the strange movements of Lu Kuan in front of him and felt the strange pressure around him. Cold sweat dripped down his face. Is Master thinking of how to punish me? Compared to Master, my small body is 2 whole realms lower. I can't withstand his torment. Huang Xiaoyan had arrived at the heavenly sword sect sphere of influence early on. According to the information he gathered, sword intent seemed to be helpful to his breakthrough. But how sword intent was produced and how the so-called sword core was condensed, he had no idea. Just as Huang Xiaoyan was thinking of how to sneak into the heavenly sword sect, Lu Kuan found him and gave him a harsh scolding. With Huang Xiaoyun's viscera forging stage body, he was unable to use the bone treasure stage divine sense bone concealment technique. As long as a core formation stage sword cultivator used a bewitching technique, they could make Huang Xiaoyun confess the truth. After a few days, Huang Xiaoyan learned that his master had entered the nascent soul stage. No, it should be the bone transformation stage. His strength was incomparably terrifying. In just 1 or 2 days, he had obtained the sword core method from the heavenly sword sect's nascent soul stage. Bone transformation stage, such a terrifying realm. Master actually made me control the flying boat. Shouldn't he be able to easily wrap me up and fly with a flash of light? Now that he's so troublesome, he's obviously punishing me. Huang Xiaoyan muttered to himself. Then he sank his mind into comprehending the method of condensing the sword core. Lu Kuan didn't pay attention to Huang Xiaoyan. He constantly adjusted the source force field in his hands. When he first killed Tu Tiancheng, Lu Kuan only used his physical body's origin power in 2 ways. One was to borrow power from the void, and the other was to use long-distance void power. Needless to say, borrowing strength from the void could completely unleash one's physical strength in the void, breaking through the critical point of 400,000. As for void power, it consumed an astonishing amount of mana. The further the distance, the more mana it consumed. A distance of 10 feet was almost 100 times the mana consumption of 10 feet. Other than the huge consumption of demon energy, Lu Kuan could not precisely control the power of the void over a long distance. If he were to face Tu Tiancheng's nascent soul again, he could only crush it savagely. The amount of origin energy that he could truly control freely and finally was the passive origin energy field within a 3-foot radius of his body. This 3-foot radius could be said to be his range of close combat. During his battle with Yulong Fei, Lu Kuan discovered that the fine control of the kinetic field made it easier for him to transform his physical strength into various forms and use unique combat skills. In other words, Body Cultivator's combat skills. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a strange light. An invisible vortex appeared within a 3-foot radius of his chest, emitting an indescribable fluctuation. This origin energy vortex was a closed combat origin energy field that he could finally control, transforming his physical strength into a spiral-like force field. Other than producing a huge suction force, the convergence point of the power in the depths of the vortex also had a terrifying stirring power. With his 400,000 kilograms of brute force, the origin energy vortex could crush Yulong Fei's middle nascent soul, stage golden sword chi, and obliterate the power of the nascent soul with an extremely low consumption of demon energy. The invisible vortex in front of his chest slowly dissipated. Lu Kuan stretched out his hands, making his palms face each other with a distance of 3 feet. Then, a semicircular origin energy vortex appeared in each of his palms. The two terrifying suction forces faced each other from afar, forming an invisible sphere that twisted endlessly. The surface of this vortex sphere is filled with an origin energy field. The terrifying brute force did not compress inwards, but rotated around the sphere's surface. The suction force formed a balance. If the nascent soul was locked in the vortex sphere by me, it would neither be able to teleport nor be crushed by the force. Lu Kuan looked at the vortex in his hand and muttered in his heart. The origin energy vortex can be said to be a combination of defense and control. When transcending the tribulation, if I use the origin energy vortex to weaken the lightning tribulation, the consumption of demon energy will definitely be much smaller. This should be the most basic defensive combat skill. Removing the vortex sphere between his hands, Lu Kuan clenched his fists again. A small origin energy vortex appeared on the surface of his fists, and his eyes revealed a contemplative look. In the battle with Yulong Fei, Lu Kuan first formed a huge vortex with a 3-foot origin energy field outside his body, wrapping it around his body. Using the origin energy vortex theurgy ability, he attracted nearly 100 powerful sword chi. Then, he condensed 2 small origin energy vortexes on his fists as the core of the large vortex. The 3 vortexes combined into one, barely absorbing the sword chi on his fists. Although this powerful attack was absorbed and transferred, Lu Kuan still suffered a lot of damage. The golden sword chi, which contained the world's origin energy, attacked the bone treasure, causing its spirituality to be damaged. As for his fists, they were composed of many finger bones, which was equivalent to an inlaid magic treasure. They were harder than a single bone, which was why they could barely withstand the terrifying golden sword chi and did not break apart. Origin energy transmits physical strength. If my physical strength continues to increase, the power of the origin energy vortex will also increase. Lu Kuan had some understanding in his heart. If he had used the Omni-Arm theurgy ability at that time, and used the origin energy vortex with a terrifying strength of more than 1,000,000 kilograms, the damage to his physical body would have been reduced by a lot. One origin energy vortex can absorb and weaken energy attacks. 2 origin energy vortexes can form a unique control theurgy. The combination of 3 origin energy vortexes can absorb and transfer attacks. If there were 4 or 5, what kind of theurgy would there be? If the origin energy vortexes were superimposed, what kind of changes would occur in the suction and stirring forces? Thinking of this, Lu Kuan's eyes were filled with yearning. He was still not proficient in controlling origin energy. At most, he could control 3 origin energy vortexes, and superimposing them was impossible. However, Lu Kuan had a premonition that as his understanding of origin energy deepened, the number and power of the origin energy vortexes would definitely increase. After pondering for a moment, the origin energy vortexes on Lu Kuan's fists gradually dissipated. He opened his palms, and the origin energy in his physical body turned into 3 layers of invisible force fields, floating above his palms. Each layer of origin energy occupied an area of about a foot, and 3 layers were 3 feet. Then, the muscles on his arms twisted slightly, and with the cooperation of his magic energy, the 3 layers of origin energy quickly compressed to an area of 1 foot. Then his right palm began to vibrate at an extremely fast speed. At the same time, the 3 layers of origin energy fields outside his palm began to vibrate at a similar amplitude, causing a distorted illusion of a palm to appear in front of Lu Kuan's palm. With the palm as the core, using the rapid vibration of the physical body's origin energy, I can transform a huge amount of power into the power of vibrations. It's equivalent to a palm attack theurgy. Lu Kuan felt the invisible power of vibrations and was quite satisfied. In the previous battle, he used this power of vibrations to even disperse the powerful golden sword. If I use this vibration palm technique to attack the mana shield of a nascent soul stage cultivator, will the power of vibrations pass through the shield and directly attack his physical body? Currently, I can only superimpose 3 layers of origin energy fields on my palm. If I superimpose 4 layers, what kind of changes will occur in the power of vibrations? The change in the frequency of the palm's vibrations seems to be able to produce different powers. It seems that I have to experiment more. If I can perfect it, this will be a palm technique system. Lu Kuan's face flashed with excitement, and strange ideas emerged in his mind. He then raised his index and middle fingers again. The palm technique produces the power of vibrations. Can I condense the power on my fingers in a spiral manner, producing a powerful penetrating force and breaking through the surface with a single point? He clenched his hand into a fist again. A fist made up of many bones and joints can withstand a stronger burst of power compared to the palm and fingers. If I adjust the origin energy field outside the fist, I wonder if I can instantly burst out with the strongest burst of power when the fist hits the enemy. Lu Kuan's eyes revealed a fanatical look, and a complicated origin energy fluctuation surged from his hand. First, set a small goal, such as 1 second. Remember, Bookhouse. Chapter 891. Half a day later, Huang Xiaoyan raised his head. His eyes were filled with surprise. This sword core condensation technique simply brought the sharpness of the metal element to the extreme. When a sword cultivator comprehended sword intent and condensed a sword intent imprint in his dantian, he could use the sword intent imprint to replace the metal element imprint. It was similar to his second senior apprentice brother, Zhao Qingtian's poison wood imprint. If he could comprehend sword intent in advance, he could condense sword intent imprints on his arms, legs, chest, and back. Then, with the guidance of sword intent, the chances of the sword core fusing with his bones would greatly increase. If he broke through like this, his body would also undergo a huge change. His bones and spiritual power would all have sword intent, and his physical attack power would be accompanied by the extreme sharpness of sword intent. With the characteristics of his demonic gold body, he would definitely be the nemesis of demonic cultivators. Just as Huang Xiaoyan was pleasantly surprised, Lu Kuan suddenly said, "Xiaoyan, have you finished reading?" Huang Xiaoyan nodded vigorously and said, "I've finished reading." "Master, is the Valley of Swords that you mentioned to help sword cultivators comprehend sword intent? But how to comprehend sword intent? I still have no clue." Lu Kuan said, "The Valley of Swords can help sword cultivators comprehend sword intent because it is filled with sharpness. If you can comprehend this sharpness that penetrates deep into the soul, you can condense sword intent imprints in advance." Then, a jade bottle appeared in Lu Kuan's hand. He threw it over and said, "This is green essence sword wine. It contains a trace of sharpness. With the strength of your body, this cup of wine won't cause any harm to your body. However, the sharpness inside will stab your consciousness. In the next 5 years, try your best to comprehend this sword core condensation technique. At critical moments, you can use this green essence sword wine to assist. 5 years later, you will enter the Valley of Swords. As for whether you can comprehend sword intent, it will depend on you. Huang Xiaoyan clenched his fist tightly and said, "Master, I will definitely not let you down." Lu Kuan looked at Huang Xiaoyan, who had a determined expression on his face. He was also rather confident. From what he could see, the golden essence body tempering mantra's metal elemental spiritual power was purer than that of ordinary cultivators because he did not use immortal cultivator elixirs. On the other hand, the dermic powers of body cultivators were created for the purpose of tempering the body. The cruder the method of circulation, the better the tempering effect of the body. Compared to immortal cultivators, the dermic powers of body cultivators were incomparably violent. Therefore, it was very difficult for body cultivators to cast some complicated spells. However, it was precisely such metal-type physical dermic powers that were more suitable for comprehending sword intent. In order to protect their meridians, the sword cultivators of the heavenly sword sect would restrain the circulation of their cultivation methods. They were afraid that the powerful metal-attributed spiritual power would harm their meridians. No matter how pure the metal-attributed spiritual power was, it was completely bound by the meridians. The chances of using such gentle metal-attributed spiritual power to comprehend the extremely sharp sword intent were too low. Although Lu Kuan did not know how the ancient sword cultivators protected their meridians, in his opinion, the heavenly sword sect's sword cultivation methods should have been completely integrated with the golden essence body tempering mantra. Only the body cultivator's body could bring out the extremely sharp sword intent to the extreme. Early stage bone treasure, sword elixir fused into the bones, and dermic powers of sword intent. Middle stage bone treasure, 206 sword bones were formed. Middle stage bone treasure, all the bones in the body were inlaid matured sword treasures, and the body became a sword. Combining body refinement and sword refinement, this was the right path. Those immortal cultivators of the heavenly sword sect were simply ruining the sword cultivation methods. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with something called ambition. First deal with the miraculous gate. After it's over, whatever sword cultivation methods, sword nurturing techniques, and that valley of swords, all will belong to my body refining pavilion. The spiritual power in Huang Xiaoyan's body was vigorous. The speed of the flying boat was not slow. At this time, they had already passed through the land of death and were shooting towards Bluestone Town. Somewhere in the sky of the Eastern Pond State, a huge green flying boat was flying quickly. There were more than 30 people on it. Half of them were young men and women. At this time, they were looking around curiously. At the front of the flying boat stood several immortal cultivators, emitting strong waves of spiritual power. They were all powerhouses above the core formation stage. They were Qin Yushu, Xiao Hongfei, and the others from the treasure pavilion. In addition, in the middle of them stood an old man with a head full of white hair and a sorrowful expression. Qin Yushu said with a heavy expression, "Uncle Zhu, as long as you are safe and sound, Master will be able to rest in peace in the underworld." It turned out that this old man was Zhu Siming, who was released by Old Demon Pang. Just as Lu Kuan guessed, he had successfully met up with Qin Yushu and the others. Zhu Siming sighed and said with a serious expression, "Yushu, you are wrong. Passing down the Yang clan's refining techniques was Senior Nie's last wish." Qin Yushu clenched his fists and said with a bright light in his eyes, "Uncle Zhu, don't worry. Lu Shidi has entered the nascent soul stage and is very powerful. He asked us to meet in the Eastern Pond State to discuss how to deal with the miraculous gate and take back the Lu state that originally belonged to us. After that, we can develop with all our strength." Thinking of Lu Kuan, Zhu Siming's face showed a rare smile. "Originally, Senior Nie, and I thought that it would be difficult for you to escape the pursuit of the miraculous gate with your foundation establishment stage cultivation. Unexpectedly, not only did you escape to the Chu state, you also found the things left behind by Ancestor Fong by chance and divided them into the treasure pavilion and the body refining pavilion. Lu Kuan is really a genius. Not only did he create his own body refining immortal cultivation, he even entered the nascent soul stage so quickly." Then, Zhu Siming thought of something and asked the person beside him, Daoist Xiao, when you were at the Demon Spirit Island, did Lu Kuan really kill a nascent soul stage cultivator so easily? Xiao Hongfei's face showed an extremely complicated expression. He nodded slowly and said, That's right. From the beginning to the end, Brother Lu only used a few breaths of time. That nascent soul stage cultivator called Tu Tiancheng didn't even manage to escape. And the other nascent soul stage cultivator called Taoist Lord Three Sons saw such a scene and lost all courage to fight. He turned and ran. Although he heard them say it a few times, Zhu Siming still felt that it was unbelievable. A nascent soul stage cultivator was killed so easily. Lu Kuan's abilities were definitely much stronger than Ancestor Fong of the Yang clan. Then, Zhu Siming showed a worried expression. If old Devil-Sure of the Miraculous Gate is still in the intermediate stage of the nascent soul stage, we have a good chance of defeating him if we join forces with the Heavenly Sword Clan and the Green Alliance. But if old Devil-Sure has entered the advanced stage of the Cultivator stage, I'm afraid we... Qin Yushu shook his head and said, Uncle Zhu, after so many years of wandering and cultivating, Lu Shidi has become very cautious. This time, he gathered us to deal with the Miraculous Gate. He must have a lot of confidence. Once we meet, we will know. Zhu Siming nodded. Then, his face suddenly darkened. A surge of spiritual energy that was close to the peak of the completion stage came out of his body. He said coldly, I wonder who is visiting. Can you come out and meet me? On the side, Xiao Hongfei and the others' expressions changed. They spread out their spiritual energy in all directions. However, they did not find anything out of the ordinary. They looked at Zhu Siming in confusion. Zhu Siming sneered. He looked to the right of the flying boat and extended his spiritual energy towards that area. Ha! A string of bell-like laughter was heard. A woman wearing a long blue dress appeared in midair. This woman had fair skin and beautiful features. She was tall and slender. Even though she was wearing a long dress, one could still feel her long and slender legs. Her white and tender feet casually stepped on a piece of cloud. A fresh and playful aura came over. The woman blinked her light blue eyes and said curiously, I didn't think that the treasure pavilion was hiding such a powerful cultivator with such a terrifying spiritual energy. When the people of the treasure pavilion saw this woman, their expressions relaxed. Zhu Xiaofeng smiled bitterly and said, So, it is Fairy Fong Yuan from the Spirit Transformation Sect. We have known each other for a long time. Fairy, why are you hiding here? When Zhu Siming heard this, he immediately knew who this person was. Aside from the Abyssal Island, the Treasure Pavilion also owned several weapon refining shops in the Spirit Transformation Sect market. Fairy Fong Yuan was the sect master of the Spirit Transformation Sect. With her help, the Treasure Pavilion's development was relatively stable in recent years. This woman was a peak completion stage cultivator. Her strength was unfathomable. However, with so many core completion stage cultivators in the Treasure Pavilion, there was no need to be afraid. Zhu Siming cupped his fists and said, So it is Fairy Fong. I am Zhu Siming. I have been cultivating outside for a long time. Recently, I have reunited with a few of my fellow disciples. May I know why Fairy Fong is here? Fong Yuan slightly bowed and said with a serious expression, Fong Yuan came this time because I want to meet Master Lu through the recommendation of the Treasure Pavilion. I have something important to discuss. Qin Yushu and Zhu Xiaofeng looked at each other and couldn't help but frown. They had known the Spirit Transformation Sect for a long time. Although there were disciples from the Body Refining Pavilion, they all hid their strength. Lu Kuan also didn't have any contact with the Spirit Transformation Sect. Where did this Fairy Fong Yuan find out about Lu Kuan? From her tone, it seemed like she also knew that Lu Kuan had entered the nascent soul stage. First, set a small goal. For example, 1 second. Remember, book guest house. Chapter 892. Sun Ergu was the Hunter King of Bluestone Town. When he was young, he was taught by a senior martial artist. He He was the only second-rate martial artist in the town, and a peak second-rate one at that. Recently, Sun Urgu felt that it was very strange. Bluestone Town, which usually only had merchant caravans, had many unfamiliar martial artists. Although these martial artists did not do anything and left after eating a big meal, as a native of Bluestone Town, Sun Urgu was extremely vigilant against martial artists who suddenly appeared. Therefore, he tried to tail these people, who knew that not long after leaving the town, he would be left behind. Sun Urgu was not willing to give up. He tried to track every group of martial artists, but the result was the same every time. In addition to having the strength of a peak second-rate martial artist, he was also a hunter. Even a first-rate martial artist would find it difficult to escape from his tracking technique. In other words, every martial artist who passed by here was a superclass expert. Damn it, where did so many experts come from? Sun Urgu had seen the world. There were at least 200 superclass experts who passed by in the past few days. Even if all the top martial artists in the Eastern Pawn State were added together, there would not be this many. After discovering the strength of these martial artists, Sun Urgu did not pursue them. If he angered them because of his pursuit, he would not even know how he died. A few days passed like this. In a mountain range west of Bluestone Town, a thick fog gradually rose and shrouded the entire mountain range. The hunters of Bluestone Town found that if they accidentally walked into the fog, they would only walk out inexplicably and would not be able to enter the mountain. After all, Sun Urgu had seen the world. He knew that there were immortals in this world who could cast immortal spells that could move mountains and fill seas. This thick fog was probably some kind of immortal spell. For some reason, he felt that this thick fog immortal spell was related to those martial artists. Then, he felt that it was impossible. No matter how powerful martial artists were, they were still mortals. How could it be related to immortals? In a valley deep in the mountain range, a large number of shouts and bombardments echoed. The top martial artists that Sun Urgu met were waving all kinds of weapons that flashed with spiritual light. They were chiseling at the walls on both sides of the valley, opening up their own temporary cave abodes. On the trees on both sides of the valley, many strong chimpanzees were rolling and jumping, making excited sounds. Among them, there were two small figures, one gold and one silver, scurrying around. From time to time, there would be happy squeaks and howls. In the center of the valley, there was a tower that was 200 feet tall. Core. At the top of the tower was an incomparably wide platform. 5 men and 1 woman sat cross-legged on it. The men had sturdy bodies and deep auras. Even the beautiful woman with skin as white as jade had a sturdy and powerful body. And Lu Kuan looked at his disciples, and a look of gratification flashed in the depths of his eyes. He had stepped onto the path of immortal body refinement all by himself, and his disciples had also stepped onto this path, walking their own unique path of body refinement. Zhao Qingtian, relying on the combination of wood, attribute magic power, and poison, he condensed the poison wood mark. He entered the bone treasure stage with the 6 poisons merge mystic technique. His physical attacks contained ferocious poison. If a normal core formation stage cultivator was hit with the poison, their spell body would probably be completely destroyed. With Zhao Qingtian's experience, the next generation of disciples of the primordial wood body tempering technique could also use the poison wood body tempering technique to break through. They could rely on the terrifying poison in their magic power to unleash a unique combat strength. Xiao, relying on Wang Ruobing's mystic technique, she integrated the frost sword into her arm bone and borrowed the power of the mystic treasure to break through the bottleneck of the bone treasure stage. With the special characteristics of the mystic treasure, a body cultivator could unleash the full power of the set of mystic treasures. Their strength was even stronger than Xiao Jin. This method of using the mystic treasure gave Lu Kuan many new ideas for body tempering. Yu Xian, using the primordial fire body tempering technique, she was preparing to break through the bottleneck with the help of the deviant flame. If she succeeded, there might be some unique changes in the refinement of the deviant flame. Huang Xiaoyan was comprehending the method of condensing the sword core. The primordial gold body tempering technique was extremely compatible with the heavenly sword sex techniques. In addition to the golden devil body and green essence sword wine, if he comprehended sword intent and formed 6 sword intent imprints on his body, his chances of breaking through would greatly increase. Lu Kuan looked at Pan Yin, who was even more muscular than him. He couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. This little disciple of his could be said to have the best aptitude among the disciples. He had the body of solid earth, a 6-star physique. But because of this, his cultivation speed was the slowest. It seemed that the earth attribute favored this physique. Under the tempering of the primordial earth body tempering technique, Pan Yan's physical defense was even stronger than Lu Kuan's when he was young. The poison's effect was extremely low. Lu Kuan even wanted to lift Pan Yan up and smash the dragon stone to see how sturdy it was. After a while, Lu Kuan said, "Master plans to officially attack the miraculous gate in 30 years and seize Lu province." Everyone raised their heads and looked at Lu Kuan with excitement. They had been in hiding for too long and didn't dare to casually reveal their body cultivation. They had almost never fought to their heart's content. Although they had been sitting on Demon Spirit Island all these years, they had always felt uneasy. After all, they were surrounded by cultivators of Chu. The 10 great sects had many people. If they were exposed, they would definitely become the target of public criticism. In the cultivation world of Chu, Lu Kuan and the others were complete outsiders. If they invaded Chu's resources, the 10 great sects would definitely unite. Wei was different. Its area was smaller than Chu. Other than the Miraculous Gate, there were only the Heavenly Sword Sect and the Green League among the large cultivation sections. The 3 sects were in a deadlock. If they could destroy the Miraculous Gate and take back their territory, the Body Refining Pavilion would not only have a real sect base, but the strength it displayed would also intimidate the surrounding cultivation countries. Any cultivator who had designs on the Body Refining Pavilion would have to think twice. Lu Kuan asked, "Qingtian, what's the situation of the Sacred Poison sect now?" Zhao Qingtian said respectfully, "Master, the core formation cultivators of the Sacred Poison sect have all been poisoned. Dune has already grasped the power." Lu Kuan said again, "Have you calculated the poisons that promote body refining?" Zhao Qingtian nodded and said, "I have. There are a total of 138 types of poisons suitable for the muscle refining stage, 21 for the bone tempering stage, none for the blood condensation stage, and 16 for the viscera forging stage. The Sacred Poison sect's poison reserves are also abundant." Lu Kuan thought for a moment and said slowly, "Next, you and Little Du will make arrangements. I want all the disciples of the Sacred Poison sect to refine poisons suitable for the muscle refining and bone tempering stages. There are already 17 second-generation disciples of the Body Refining Pavilion who have entered the bone tempering stage. Give them enough poisons. I will also ask the Treasure Pavilion to prepare a large amount of earth fire stones so that they can cultivate both internally and externally. Within 30 years, I want to see half of them enter the blood condensation stage. At this stage, body cultivators will have a longer-lasting battle strength." Lu Kuan looked at everyone. "You have all experienced the bone tempering stage. With so many resources, it shouldn't be a problem, right?" Zhao Qingtian said in a deep voice, "Master, don't worry. We will definitely supervise these disciples." Lu Kuan continued, "In addition to the second-generation disciples, there are more than 50 young martial artists with spirit roots in the martial artist clans. Prepare enough poisons for them. I will also ask Dahe and Corpse Priest to control their Yao Qi and Yin Qi to assist them. If these people can enter the bone tempering stage within 30 years, they will be promoted to second-generation disciples." At this point, Lu Kuan's expression turned serious. "Our Body Refining Pavilion is different from other immortal cultivators. Remember, with the pioneering efforts of the previous generation disciples, the body refining arts will become more and more perfect." He looked around at the disciples and said in a deep voice, Tell the future disciples that the body refining pavilion only cares about seniority and not cultivation. You have all walked your own paths. Even if the second-generation disciples have a higher cultivation than you, they will have to obediently call you martial uncle and martial uncle. If there is anyone who doesn't respect you, I, Lu Kuan, will be the first to destroy them. The 5 disciples nodded heavily. Lu Kuan continued, Qingtan, in addition to supervising the disciples, you have to study the refining method of the psychic poison treasure. If the sacred poison sect doesn't have any materials, I will help you find them. Quickly increase your battle strength. Yes, master. Lu Kuan then looked at Sher Chao and said, Shui, we don't have any extra true devil water now. Focus on using the magic power of your bones to nurture the frost swords. According to my observation, this pair of magic treasures is not far from the mature stage. Once they enter the mature stage, you will be able to rival a late core formation cultivator. Yu Xian and Xiao Yun, I won't say anything more. I already have a method to break through. You must break through to the bone treasure stage for me. Yu Xian and Xiao Yun nodded firmly. In the end, Lu Kuan looked at Pan Yin. The latter shrunk his neck and reluctantly said, Master, I will also work hard in my cultivation and break through as soon as possible. Lu Kuan shook his head. You should go to the sacred poison sect to cultivate. That resentment abyss is very suitable for you. It is too wasteful for you to use poison. That's right. The little silver silkworm is also on the verge of breaking through. Who knows, it might be able to successfully break through there. If it becomes a golden silkworm goo insect, its poison amplification will increase even further. Lu Kuan's voice gradually became stern. In 20 years, you must complete the reconstruction of your internal organs. Otherwise, I will flatten the surrounding mountains with you. Pan Yan's body couldn't help but tremble. He nodded repeatedly. Lu Kuan stood up and walked to the edge of the platform. He looked at the martial artists in the valley who were in full swing and muttered. In addition to improving the cultivation of the first and second generation disciples, there is still a very important secret technique that needs to be researched. With it, the foundation of the body refining pavilion will become incomparably strong. P.S. This chapter was written using my phone on the high-speed train. There are still 6 chapters left for this week. Tomorrow and the day after, I will be locked up in a small dark room. First set a small goal. For example, 1 second. Remember, book guest house. Chapter 893. Eastern Pond Region. On a red cliff peak at the edge of the Land of Death, Zhu Siming and Xiao Hongfei stood beside Fairy Fong Yuan, and the 3 of them were casually chatting. Fairy Fong Yuan said, Fellow Zhu, Master Lu is a nascent soul stage cultivator, and I'm only a core formation stage cultivator. It is not good for Master Lu to come here personally. Zhu Siming said meaningfully, Fairy Fong Yuan, that place is the temporary residence of the body refining pavilion. If the discussion between Fairy and Pavilion Master Lu goes smoothly, then it's fine. If there's some unpleasantness, I'm afraid it'll be difficult for Fairy to come out. Hearing this, Fong Yuan understood. According to her ancestor, the body refining pavilion was in a dormant state. If she went there, wouldn't that place be exposed? Fairy Fong Yuan said softly, Thank you for your reminder, but it is indeed not good to go there directly. Zhu Siming suddenly looked towards the west with a strange expression. He is here. Now, what kind of escape technique is that? After a while, Fong Yuan and Xiao Hongfei also sensed something, and their expressions were extremely surprised. In the distant horizon, there was a figure running in the air like a mortal. The air under his feet was like solid ground. Every step he took was dozens of feet away. His speed was shocking. After 10 breaths, this burly man brought a strong gust of wind and landed on the red cliff peak. A strange pressure spread out. The 3 of them unconsciously had goosebumps. Their hearts beat faster and their chests felt heavy. It was as if there was an invisible pressure that was squeezing their bodies. This feeling only lasted for a breath before it disappeared without a trace. It was as if it was an illusion. Lu Kuan took 2 steps forward and looked at the energetic Zhu Siming. His eyes were filled with respect as he said, "Martial Uncle Zhu, you are finally back." Zhu Siming said with a bleak expression, "My old bones have survived. It is a pity that Nie Wufeng." Then he shook his head and said, "We'll talk about this later. By the way, Lu Kuan, you're already a nascent soul cultivator. There's no need for you to call me Martial Uncle. We should do the opposite." Lu Kuan said seriously, "Martial Uncle Zhu, the body refining pavilion only cares about seniority, not cultivation. But the treasure pavilion is a sect that inherits skills, so naturally it also cares about seniority. Without you and Martial Uncle Nie's help, I am afraid that Lu would not have been able to reach this step. You've always been my martial uncle." Zhu Siming couldn't help but recall the days when he was at the Yang clan's refining peak more than 100 years ago. He had helped Lu Kuan, and Lu Kuan had also helped him. It was only because he had perfected the soul sensing technique that he was able to break through to the core formation stage when his lifespan was nearing its end. Zhu Siming was gratified and said, "All right, but I can't call you Martial Nephew. From now on, I'll call you Master Lu." Lu Kuan didn't refute. After greeting Xiao Hongfei, he looked at the tall woman and said, "This must be Fairy Fong Yuan from the Spirit Transformation Sect. I heard from Senior Martial Brother Qin that Fairy has something to discuss with Lu. I wonder what it is." As soon as Lu Kuan appeared, Fong Yuan carefully sized up this body refinement founder that the ancestor had mentioned. With her divine ability, she could not sense any aura from Pavilion Master Lu other than the pressure he exuded at the beginning. Even his flying escape technique didn't give off any fluctuations of magic arts. Could it be that the so-called body refining immortal cultivation had completely broken away from the realm of immortal cultivators? Was that why the heavenly tribulation had descended? Fairy Fong Yuan, who was letting her imagination run wild, calmed herself down. She bowed slightly and said, "I'm Fong Yuan. Greetings, Master Lu. I've taken the liberty to visit. I do have something important to discuss." As she spoke, her light blue eyes glanced at Zhu Siming and Xiao Hongfei. Lu Kuan frowned and said, "Martial Uncle Zhu, Brother Xiao, please go to the rendezvous point first. It's a bit crude, and I'll need your help to perfect it." Zhu Siming and Xiao Hongfei understood Lu Kuan's meaning. Their magic powers surged, and they turned into 2 streaks of light and shot into the distance. After the 2 people from the Treasure Tool Pavilion left, Lu Kuan said expressionlessly, "Before Fairy Fong Yuan speaks, can you tell me where you heard about the body refining pavilion and how you knew about Lu Kuan's cultivation?" In his impression, only the 3 Yang Supreme of the Scorching Sun sect knew about this. Could it be that the 3 Yang Supreme had spread the news about him? Fairy Fong Yuan said calmly, "The body refining pavilion and Master Lu's cultivation were informed by our sect's patriarch." Lu Kuan frowned and said, "According to Lu's knowledge, the Spirit Transformation sect only worships an 8th-tier demon cultivator. They don't have any nascent soul cultivators. Who is this patriarch?" Fairy Fong Yuan said proudly, "Our sect's patriarch is the only spirit transformation cultivator in the Chu country." Lu Kuan chuckled and said, "If the Daoi sect said that they have a spirit transformation cultivator, Lu would believe it. But the Spirit Transformation sect is just an ordinary sect in the Chu country. How could they have a spirit transformation cultivator?" Fairy Fong Yuan knew that Lu Kuan couldn't believe it. She said slowly, "When Master Lu transformed into the long-armed demon ape and went through the last lightning tribulation, the patriarch was in the chaotic ocean. She witnessed Master Lu using the Devil King's divine body technique to kill 2 Tianqing and scare the 3 Yang Supreme away. His strength is comparable to a grand cultivator." Hearing this, Lu Kuan's expression changed slightly. Fong Yuan could actually tell the scene of him transforming into the long-armed demon ape. With the characteristics of his body, he could even sense the prying of a grand cultivator. Could she really be a spirit transformation cultivator? The long-armed demon ape and the Devil King's divine body technique were all secrets of the Yi Yuan sect. Could it be that the spirit transformation sect was related to the Yuan sect? Lu Kuan said in a deep voice. Lu has some doubts. Since your sect has a spirit transformation cultivator, why don't you have a nascent soul cultivator? Fairy Fong Yuan smiled bitterly and said, Master Lu, you don't know. Our sect's oath stone stipulates that our sect's disciples can only cultivate our sect's techniques. The Patriarch also insists on this. Our sect techniques are closely related to demonic beasts. If we want to surpass a realm, we have to tame a Class 8 demonic beast. But now that the inner and outer seas are separated, all the high-level demonic beasts are in the outer seas. Even the Daoi sect's grand cultivators don't dare to go deep. Lu Kuan said doubtfully, if that's the case, then it's even more impossible for the spirit transformation sect to have a spirit transformation cultivator. Fairy Fong Yuan paused for a moment before revealing a proud expression. Pavilion Master Lu, you may not know this, but 30,000 years ago, our spirit transformation sect strength was at the top of the Chu country. We were fully deserving of being called the #1 sect. Not only did we have a spirit transformation stage cultivator like our ancestor, we even had over 20 nascent soul stage elders. Moreover, with the help of their respective demonic beasts, the elders of our sect could fight against 2 experts of the same realm. They could definitely fight against those of a higher realm. During that glorious era, we led the cultivation world of Chu and advanced to the outer seas, seizing large amounts of cultivation resources. But we didn't expect that a flood dragon would awaken the bloodline of a true dragon and break through the bottleneck of Class 10, reaching the legendary demonic king realm. This flood dragon's combat talent was astonishing. Even with the help of the demonic king Xingye, the Patriarch could only fight it to a draw. After countless years of war, the demonic beasts and cultivators suffered heavy casualties. In the end, they had no choice but to sign a truce. From then on, the cultivators of Chu and the overseas demonic beasts were separated by the inner and outer seas. The Patriarch and the Flood Dragon were not allowed to cross the boundary. The great war between the human race and the overseas demonic beasts came to an end. At this point, Fairy Fong Yuan revealed a helpless expression. After more than 1,000 years, the Patriarch discovered that the spirit transformation sect had been schemed against by the demonic king. The high-level demonic beasts had all retreated to the outer seas. As long as the cultivators entered the outer seas, the Flood Dragon King would be able to attack. Therefore, the spirit transformation sect could only capture the demonic beasts of the inner seas that had yet to awaken their consciousness to maintain the number of core formation cultivators. One must know that if the demonic beasts didn't have an inheritance, they wouldn't be able to advance beyond Class 8 unless they refined a Class 8 demonic core. As the lifespan of the nascent soul elders decreased, the nascent soul cultivators of our sect entered a gap. Fairy Fong Yuan revealed a look of admiration and said, in a fit of anger, the Patriarch paid a huge price to coexist with the demonic king Xiangui, causing his lifespan to increase greatly. He wanted to use the terrifying lifespan of the demonic king Xiangui to exhaust the Flood Dragon King to death before charging into the outer seas. Then, she said with a strange expression, that Flood Dragon King also had a bad temper. After learning of the Patriarch's actions, he actually burned his true dragon blood essence to lock the demonic king's cultivation and extend his lifespan. Just like that, the man and the Flood Dragon spent 30,000 years. Chapter 894. Lu Kuan was dumbfounded. Was this still a soul formation cultivator? Why did it feel like they were using their lifespan to exhaust the other party to death like a child? Or had they tried all kinds of methods and realized that they could not kill the other party? So, they resorted to such a stupid method? Lu Kuan could not help but ask, Fairy Fong Yuan, you said that your sect's Patriarch has lived for 30,000 years. This secret technique is too heaven-defying. Fairy Fong Yuan shook her head and said, how can there be such a secret technique? The Patriarch has the bloodline of the black tortoise and has a special physique. That is why he can share his lifespan with the Black Tortoise Demon King. If it was an ordinary soul formation cultivator of our sect, even with the secret technique to share the lifespan of the Demon King, he can only live for 3,000 years at most. Fairy Fong Yuan's light blue eyes flashed with sadness. But 30,000 years have passed, and the patriarch's lifespan has come to an end. Lu Kuan's pupils shrank. This senior's lifespan is coming to an end. Doesn't that mean? Fairy Fong Yuan nodded. That's right. Without the patriarch's protection, the demons in the outer sea will definitely invade Chu and occupy the mainland that they have coveted for a long time. Lu Kuan was very shocked. If that was the case, there would be a war in Chu, and it would be a war between immortal cultivators and demon beasts. The outer sea was extremely vast, and no one knew how many demon beasts lived there. He then thought of something and asked, "Your sect's patriarch's lifespan is coming to an end. What about the Flood Dragon King in the outer sea?" Fong Yuan said with a complicated expression, "I'm not sure about that. But the patriarch said that he would make a trip to the outer sea. But no matter what, the invasion of Chu by the demons is unavoidable." After a while, Lu Kuan digested this information. He said in a low voice, "I didn't expect you to bring such news. Could it be that the matter you and Lu are discussing is related to the invasion of the demons?" Fairy Fong Yuan said seriously, "I came to find Master Lu this time to let the Spirit Transformation sect rely on the Body Refining Pavilion to have a place to stay in Wei." Rely on the Body Refining Pavilion? Lu Kuan said self-deprecatingly. "We haven't even taken back our own territory. What ability do we have to settle the Spirit Transformation sect?" Fairy Fong Yuan's light blue eyes looked at Lu Kuan and said slowly, "I didn't believe it at first, but the Patriarch said that Master Lu's strength is comparable to a great cultivator. But that's a different matter. Lu Kuan, or not, that he." Fairy Fong Yuan didn't know what Lu Kuan was thinking. She continued, "Although our sect is small and weak, we have 11 core formation cultivators and more than 50 foundation establishment disciples. With the help of our respective demonic beasts, we will definitely be a great help in dealing with the miraculous gate." Hearing about the assistance of demonic beasts, Lu Kuan's expression changed. "Understand, if the Spirit Transformation sect is placed in the Wei country, then when a war breaks out in the cultivation world of the Chu country, they can use the Wei country as their base to fish in troubled waters. If we can catch a Class 8 demonic beast or a Class 7 demonic beast with a bloodline inheritance, your sect will completely break the gap of these years and have a nascent soul cultivator." Fong Yuan said frankly, "That's right. The Spirit Transformation sect is willing to rely on the Body Refining Pavilion because we hope that Master Lu can help us catch Class 8 demonic beasts." Lu Kuan pondered for a moment and said, "But Fairy Fong Yuan, if the Spirit Transformation sect enters Wei, the 10 great sects may join forces to attack Wei in order to leave a way out after the demon race invades. That would be inviting trouble to ourselves." Hearing about the 10 great sects, Fairy Fong Yuan said, "The Qi Kingdom in the north is suitable for fiendish cultivators. The Spirit Qi in the south is barren. Only the Wei Kingdom in the east is suitable for cultivators to live in. Even without the Spirit Transformation sect, those fellows will definitely target Wei. It's better to let the Spirit Transformation sect develop in secret. If we have a few nascent soul cultivators and a Class 8 demonic beast, the pressure on Wei will be greatly reduced." Seeing that Lu Kuan was still thinking, Fairy Fong Yuan said, "As long as Master Lu agrees, I will use our sect's oath stone and make a new oath with our sect's disciples to define the Spirit Transformation sect as a subordinate sect of the Body Refining Pavilion." Lu Kuan was silent for a moment and suddenly asked, "Is this your ancestors' intention?" Fairy Fong Yuan nodded and said, "That's right. The Patriarch believes that Pavilion Master Lu's techniques and Ubijna can restrain demonic cultivators who have taken human form. It can definitely help our sect develop, and our sect's techniques can also inspire Pavilion Master Lu." The first sentence was fine, but when Lu Kuan heard the last sentence, he was moved. He could not ignore the words of a spirit transformation cultivator. The spirit transformation sect cultivation method could help him break through to the nascent soul stage with the help of a Class 8 demonic beast. It could indeed inspire him. After all, bone transformation cultivators and Class 8 demonic beasts both experienced thunder tribulations. The two must have some similarities. Thinking of this, Lu Kuan slowly nodded. Okay, Lu agrees. As he spoke, Lu Kuan's eyes emitted a trace of golden light and looked at Fairy Fong Yuan's waist. There was an exquisite spirit beast pouch there. There seemed to be an invisible force field in the air surrounding the spirit beast pouch. At this time, the fellow Taoist that Fairy brought along can come out to meet me. Fong Yuan felt the tense air, and her delicate body could not help but tremble. She forced a smile and said, I didn't think that Master Lu could sense the situation inside the spirit beast pouch. Martial Uncle Turtle, please come out to meet me. Then the spirit beast pouch at her waist trembled, and a huge figure appeared beside Fong Yuan. A dense demonic aura filled the air. This was a half-human, half-demon woman. She had green skin, a turtle's nose and ears, and from her specially woven long braids, one could barely distinguish the characteristics of a woman. Her body was very bloated. Her chest and waist were equally majestic. Her size was almost 3 times that of Fairy Fong Yuan. Her wide green dress barely wrapped around her body. She looked like an ugly, fat shrew. The moment this shrew appeared, her face was incomparably nervous. The demonic spiritual energy within her body surged, and a huge green tortoise shell covered her majestic body. Only her thick limbs and half-human, half-tortoise face could be seen. With this turtle shell, the shrew's expression seemed to relax a lot. She laughed dryly and said, I am Gue Ling. Greetings to Master Lu. It was Lu Kuan's first time seeing a demonic beast above the 8th rank. He looked at Gue Ling, curiously. The latter seemed to be very uneasy. Bubbles kept coming out of her nose and mouth. Lu Kuan smiled innocently and said, So it's fellow Taoist turtle. Fairy Fong Yuan, the spirit transformation sect, has this fellow Taoist turtle. Why? Fairy Fong Yuan looked at the shrew with a frightened expression and said awkwardly, Martial Uncle Turtle is the son of Taoist King Xian Turtle. He could be considered the ancestor's disciple. Lu Kuan looked thoughtful and said, Your sect's ancestor has already made plans. The spirit transformation sect should be preparing to leave. Our sect has already prepared everything. We're just waiting for Master Lu and I to finish the discussion. In that case, Fairy Fong Yuan might as well come to the temporary residence of the Body Refining Pavilion. As for fellow Taoist Turtle, he should be able to arrange the evacuation of the spirit transformation sect. Fairy Fong Yuan was slightly surprised. Then, she smiled and said, Martial Uncle Turtle, sorry to trouble you. You only need to inform Junior Martial Brother Fong. He will arrange everything. You just need to protect them secretly. Hearing this, Gue Ling felt relieved. She quickly turned into a blue light and shot into the distance as if she was escaping. As the descendant of the black tortoise, her spiritual sense was extremely powerful. Standing in front of Master Lu, she felt a deathly pressure. It was as if he made a move, she would die for sure. After putting on her turtle shell, this feeling was greatly reduced. Fong Yuan told her to find the spirit transformation sect's disciples. She was very happy. As for why she was so scared, she felt it was normal. If the black tortoise was not scared, how could it have such a long lifespan? Seeing Gue Ling disappear into the horizon, Lu Kuan took Fairy Fong Yuan and flew towards Bluestone Town. Fairy Fong Yuan was very clear that Master Lu agreed because of the threat of the ancestor. She could only rest assured after both sides set up restrictions through the Oath Stone. Every time she thought of the glory of the spirit transformation sect 30,000 years ago, Fairy Fong Yuan felt extremely sullen. Now, with the help of Master Lu and the opportunity of the demon race's invasion, the spirit transformation sect would definitely welcome great development. Lu Kuan was actually the same as Fairy Fong Yuan. He was waiting for the spirit transformation sect to set up restrictions. He still had some doubts about the existence of the spirit transformation stage senior. It seemed that the senior had no ill intentions towards him. Otherwise, the senior would have made a move while he was undergoing his tribulation. The spirit transformation sect needed the help of a nascent soul stage cultivator, while the body refining pavilion lacked core formation and foundation establishment stage cultivators. Both sides were very compatible. With the addition of the spirit transformation sect, their cultivators below the nascent soul stage would be able to crush the miraculous gate. As long as the nascent soul stage cultivators of miraculous gate were dealt with, Luzhou, no, half of Wei country, would be the territory of the body refining pavilion. Chapter 895. In a valley where the body refining pavilion was temporarily stationed, two women were walking leisurely. Fairy Fong Yuan kept sizing up the beautiful woman with creamy skin and asked curiously, "Little Sister Schwer, are you really Master Lu's disciple and a body refining cultivator?" Sher Chow covered her forehead with one hand and said with a headache, "Big Sister Yuan, you've already asked 3 times. Fairy Fong Yuan pinched Sher Chow's arm and clicked her tongue, saying, "I thought that the female disciples of the body refining pavilion would be big and burly, but little sister's figure is curvy and has a strange sense of beauty. How'd you train?" Sher Chow was annoyed by Fong Yuan's questions and said helplessly, "The bodies of women and men are different. Unless they are born with a special bone structure, they will not be big and burly. Their bodies will only be tighter and more solid." Sher Chow lowered her head and looked at her full breasts. She felt a little proud. Her buttocks were well developed and were naturally very perky. As for her breasts, Sher Chow had a unique trick. After body tempering reached large success, body refining cultivators had reached an extremely high level of control over their bodies. Sher Chow could adjust her body's fat to her breasts through blood control and adjust them to a size she was satisfied with. Fairy Fong Yuan naturally did not know about Sher Chow's little secret. She was just casually chatting with Sher Chow while carefully observing the surroundings with her divine sense. This mountain range was barren of spirit chi, so there was naturally nothing to see. What she paid attention to were the martial artists wielding their artifacts. She was very curious about how the body refining pavilion accepted disciples in the Chu country. All the cultivation clans in the Chu country were inextricably linked to the major sections. The body refining pavilion was in a dormant state, so it was impossible for them to accept disciples from the cultivation clans. There were only 1 in 10,000 people in the secular world who had spirit roots, so it was too difficult to find them. There were more than 200 martial artists wielding their artifacts in the valley. Could it be that the body refining pavilion had someone specialized in accepting disciples in the secular world? The curious Fairy Fong Yuan did not restrain her divine perception mystic technique to sense the spirit roots of the martial artists. She then revealed a look of disbelief and said, "How is this possible? These martial artists do not have spirit roots?" Sher Chow looked at Fairy Fong Yuan, whose expression had changed greatly, and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. "Sister Yuan, these martial artists that you saw do not have spirit roots. They are outer sect disciples of the body refining pavilion." Fong Yuan used her divine sense to carefully size up the martial artists using the Dharma artifacts. After observing for a while, she discovered that these Dharma artifacts were strange. They actually needed to be inlaid with spirit stones, which consumed the spirit chi within the spirit stones. Moreover, every time the martial artist used the power of the magic tool, they would also reveal the divine sense of a 4th-level chi refining cultivator. The surface of their arms would also fluctuate with spiritual energy, but there was no aura of transcendence energy. From the looks of it, martial artists who were able to use magic tools had awakened their divine senses. They had a unique secret technique that allowed them to mobilize spiritual energy and activate strange magic tools. In other words, the body refining pavilion could allow mortals to possess the battle prowess of a chi refining cultivator. Low-level cultivators were nothing in Fang Yuan's eyes. However, the body refining pavilion had taken this step. Would it allow mortals to possess the battle prowess of a Foundation establishment cultivator? If they could do this, Fairy Fang Yuan pursed her dry lips. Her divine sense surged as she tried to find mortals who were stronger. Those are earth firestones. These people? At this time, they had walked to a position near the center of the valley. Other than the tall tower in the middle, the most eye-catching thing was the mountain wall on the left. There were 20 caves carved out of it. Zhu Xiaofeng was floating in midair. Pieces of fiery red stones floated out of a huge crafting furnace. 10 or so men and women stood at the entrance of the cave, taking these firestones that emitted a scorching aura one after another. The surface of these people's skin flashed with various colored light membranes. From the aura of transcendence energy on them, they were all in the early stage of Foundation establishment. They were using their own hands to carry these terrifyingly hot firestones. After taking a few steps, the light membranes on the surface of their skin cracked. The high-temperature flames used to refine magic tools directly fell on their palms and arms. These little fellows in the early stage of Foundation establishment actually used their flesh and blood to resist the burning of the firestones. This was simply inconceivable. These 10 or so people were the Foundation establishment disciples of the body refining pavilion. With this kind of terrifying physical defense, even if they were hit by a Foundation establishment cultivator spell, they wouldn't be injured, right? Then, Fairy Fang Yuan examined them a few more times. She discovered that these people all had spirit roots, and their spirit roots were very ordinary. Could it be that the body refining pavilion didn't care about spirit root aptitude? She suppressed this doubt and looked at the mountain wall on the right. There were only 2 huge caves there. One of them emitted an intense cold aura, which seemed to be even denser than that of the Land of Death. Fairy Fang Yuan's divine sense swept inside. She saw a bronze-armored corpse full of cold aura sitting cross-legged in the depths of the cave. She quickly withdrew her divine sense. It was very obvious that this top-notch bronze-armored corpse had almost killed her younger brother, Fang Xiaobo. That's a black mountain ape. Fairy Fang Yuan saw a majestic black gorilla enter the cave at the side. The demon spirit energy it emitted was at least at the 6th level. Behind this black gorilla, there was a group of black-haired apes of various sizes. They all followed into this cave. The Black Mountain Ape Tribe? Fairy Fang Yuan's expression was astonished. If the information she received was correct, wasn't the Black Mountain Ape Tribe exterminated by the Star Moon Pavilion and the Golden Spear Sect? Was this another tribe? A tribe meant a bloodline inheritance. She shook her head. Even if this Black Mountain Ape Tribe had an inheritance, she didn't dare to have any ideas. This little golden monkey is very intelligent. Could it be the long-armed ape monkey that the patriarch mentioned? And the one beside it is the silver spot leopard? The body refining pavilion actually has so many top-notch demon beasts. On the platform at the top of the tower, Lu Kuan, Qin Yushu, and Zhu Siming sat cross-legged. Qin Yushu's eyes flashed with sadness. I didn't expect Junior Brother to be the same as Master and be used as a refining material by old Demon Pang. Fortunately, Junior Brother survived. Zhu Siming sighed. Old Demon God Pang was a top-notch great cultivator. In order to break through to the spirit formation stage, he had set up so many backups. But in the end, he died in the hands of his own disciple. Fortunately, he still did something and severely injured old Demon Sure. Lu Kuan said in a deep voice, "We must seize this opportunity and destroy the miraculous gate in one fell swoop." Qin Yushu said, "Junior Brother, we have a general understanding of your plan. Now that the body refining pavilion strength has increased by leaps and bounds, it's time to change the alliance strategy that we once agreed upon." Hearing this, Lu Kuan couldn't help but look at Zhu Siming. Zhu Siming sighed. Speaking of which, the Yang clan developed because of the art of refining. But at the same time, it was also destroyed because of the art of refining. A sect that inherits this kind of art must be protected by a powerful force in order to truly grow. Qin Yushu looked at Lu Kuan and said seriously, I've discussed this with Master Zhu. In the future, the Treasure Pavilion will be the logistics sect of the Body Refining Pavilion. It will be subordinate to the Body Refining Pavilion. With the protection of the body cultivators, we only need to focus on the art of refining. Zhu Siming added, if we focus on this, perhaps the Treasure Pavilion will be able to recreate the glory of the Yang clan. Lu Kuan didn't act pretentious and said seriously, this is indeed the best way. The two of you can rest assured that the Body Refining Pavilion will do its best to protect the Treasure Pavilion. Qin Yushu teased, then, Master Lu, what do you need our Treasure Pavilion to do in the upcoming sect war? Lu Kuan's expression turned serious. I do have some secret arts in refining that I want to discuss with the two of you. One of them is the Great Five Elements art, and the other is the art of refining demonic tools. Qin Yushu and Zhu Siming looked interested. They had just heard Lu Kuan mention the Great Five Elements art. It was a secret art in the refining method of the Jade Bone humanoid devil. As for demonic tools, they had only heard of them. It was said that they were weapons refined by the demon race. Then, they began to discuss the art of refining at the top of the tower. Chapter 896. After a full 2 days and 2 nights, Lu Kuan finally imparted the Great Five Elements art and the Jade Bone humanoid demon secret technique to Zhu Siming and Qin Yushu. After a long while, Zhu Siming said in admiration, Old Fiend Pang is indeed the #1 demonic cultivator in the state of Qi. His wisdom is astonishing. He was actually able to combine the Great Five Elements art and the fusion method of sentient puppets to improve the refinement method of the Jade Bone humanoid demon. Qin Yushu opened his eyes and sighed. The Great Five Elements art is incomparably exquisite. It describes the fundamental characteristics of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, as well as the characteristics and fusion method of different attributes. If I can comprehend it for a while longer, I'm afraid my wind shadow incantation will advance even further. Lu Kuan's eyes flickered with a peculiar luster. I'm afraid even Old Fiend Pang himself doesn't know that after the Great Five Elements art fused with my bones, it unexpectedly mended my 5 elements spiritual roots. Zhu Siming and Qin Yushu were dumbfounded upon hearing this. Qin Yushu stammered, Pavilion Master means that this secret technique can produce spiritual roots out of thin air. Zhu Siming stared at Lu Kuan in disbelief. Lu Kuan affirmed, that's right. My body tempering mantra has also transformed into the 5 elements body tempering mantra. He ignored the shock of the two and continued. The refinement of the Jade Bone humanoid demon is extremely difficult. If the requirements and effects are lowered, and a bone magic weapon with spiritual roots can be refined, then even mortals will have the possibility of cultivating their bodies. Zhu Siming and Qin Yushu's mouths were slightly agape. It took them a long time to recover from their shock. Zhu Siming took a deep breath and analyzed. The Jade Bone humanoid demon has fused many different attributes. In order to bear the conflicting forces of different attributes, it needs to use the bone foundation of a matured artifact. If the requirements are lowered and changed to a single attribute, ordinary magic treasures will be able to bear it. Then, the requirements of the bone foundation stone can be lowered even further. Zhu Siming's eyes gradually lit up as he spoke. The cultivators captured by Old Fiend Pang were all in the late core formation stage. If the requirements are lowered to a single attribute early golden core, then the bone foundation will be able to bear it. Lu Kuan added, the reason why I was able to complete my spiritual roots is because the bone foundation is my own bones. Spirit body, spirit artifact, refinement art of the human race. The demon race is the only body tempering cultivators are able to refine their body's bones into artifacts. Heavenly Dowses' words as body tempering, heavenly, immortals body tempering cultivations, immortal break the rule, immortal cultivation, cultivation. Spirit heavenly, spirit, spirit, spirit essence, spirit mantra, spirit, 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 cultivators, spirit, spirit, cultivators, cultivation, cultivation, cultivation of the spirit, spirit essence. Was of the of Tao of to there, this of two. A's. Of course. S to have spirit, spirit. After a meal of cultivation methods, the two of them gradually cleared up their thoughts. Zhu Siming organized his thoughts. It seems that there are still a few difficulties in refining this tool spiritual root. The first hurdle is whether the bone material of a mortal can meet the requirements of the tool spirit root. Lu Kuan pondered for a moment before saying, judging from the material of the artifact, only the bones of a body cultivator in the bone tempering stage would barely meet the requirements. However, the artifact's spirit root doesn't refine the entire body's bones. As long as a small piece of bone is chosen, such as the sternum, with the special characteristics of the spirit root, the mortal martial artist can transform it into physical dermic powers. Then, they can rely on the spirit-controlling immortal artifact to aid their cultivation. As for the material of the sternum, we can design a unique spirit-controlling immortal artifact that fits close to the chest, allowing the martial artist to mobilize a large amount of spirit energy to temper the sternum. Qin Yushu asked curiously, Pavilion Master, why did you choose the sternum? There are many smaller bones. The smaller it is, the faster the tempering process. Lu Kuan explained, if it's any smaller, I'm afraid that the effect of the spirit root will be too weak. The sternum is located in the center of the body and is connected to the ribs. It can be removed in a short period of time to refine it. At present, it seems that the sternum is the most suitable. Zhu Siming concluded. Looking at it this way, the first hurdle will depend on the tempering of the martial artist's sternum. Lu Kuan nodded and said, I will arrange for the second-generation disciples and the disciples of the Treasure Pavilion to work together on a spirit-controlling immortal artifact that can speed up the tempering of the sternum. Then, I will let all the martial artists who have completed the Vajra mantra to temper their sternum. According to my estimation, if they use spirit energy to temper the sternum for about 30 years, the material should reach the level of an artifact material. This hurdle shouldn't be too big of a problem. Zhu Siming said again, the second hurdle is the other material of the tool spirit root, the golden core. If we can find a way to refine the tool spirit root, according to the different attributes of each person's bone structure and golden core, there will be a certain probability of success. There are too many martial artists and too few core formation stage cultivators. We can't kill a large number of core formation stage cultivators from other sections. The golden core limits the number of tool spirit roots. Lu Kuan said coldly, the most important thing now is to take the first step. In the upcoming Wei Kingdom War, there will be many core formation stage cultivators from the Green League and the Miraculous Gate. These golden cores will be used to test the first batch of tool spirit roots. Then he said, the golden core of the immortal cultivators has the attributes of the 5 elements. The same goes for the Yao cores of the demonic beasts. If the golden core experiment is successful, we can test the possibility of using the Yao cores. The kingdom of Chu is about to face the invasion of the demonic beasts. There will be a large number of demonic beasts of the 5th level and above appearing from overseas. The body refining pavilion can take this opportunity to hunt for a large number of Yao cores. If the research on the tool spirit root is successful, we can ask Fairy Fang Yuan to help us research the replacement of the Yao cores. Zhu Siming nodded lightly and continued. The third obstacle is the problem of the materials for the miniature array. Pavilion Master's body refining array is inscribed with blood marrow powder. Aside from blood clotting grass, the refining of blood marrow powder also requires the blood essence of a cultivator. The material recorded in the sentient puppet requires the blood essence of a core formation stage cultivator. Bone tempering stage body cultivators have an astonishing amount of blood essence and can meet the requirements. But for martial artists who have mastered the Vajra mantra, the strength of their blood essence is still lacking. Lu Kuan pondered for a moment and said, This is easy to solve. Martial artists who have mastered the Vajra mantra recover their blood essence faster than immortal cultivators. They can save up their blood essence every year. After 20 to 30 years worth of blood essence, we can cast spells to condense the blood essence and meet the requirements for refining blood marrow powder. Zhu Siming thought for a moment and said slowly, "These can all be solved. The next step is to design the array. The 5 elements art and the core formation method of the sentient puppet will have to be adjusted according to the size of the sternum." Lu Kuan said with a serious expression, "Then I'll have to trouble martial Uncle Zhu and senior apprentice Brother Qin." Qin Yushu smiled and said, "If the artifact spirit root is born, I'm afraid the martial artists of the body refining pavilion will go crazy." Lu Kuan's eyes shone with a golden light as he said, "The top martial artists of the mortal world all have a heart that pursues the strong. The spirit root is like a natural barrier blocking their path. If they have the artifact spirit root, it will be equivalent to breaking the law of mortals being unable to cultivate. Even if the probability of refining the artifact spirit root is low, these top martial artists will not give up." Lu Kuan looked outside and saw that the martial artists were still cultivating hard. Not a single one of them was slacking. He murmured, "Mortal martial artists cultivate the Vajra mantra, refine their sternum, refine their artifact spirit roots, transform their body's magic power, muscle refining stage, bone tempering stage, and break through the limits of their lifespan. If the artifact spirit root is developed, then the body refining pavilion will open the door to cultivation for all mortal martial artists. When the time comes, countless top martial artists will gather at the body refining pavilion. Martial artists with spirit roots can be accepted as official disciples, while martial artists without spirit roots can be accepted as outer disciples. They will also have the possibility of cultivating body refining. With the addition of a large number of low-level disciples, the body refining pavilion will be able to develop rapidly." Qin Yushu and Zhu Siming listened to Lu Kuan's words. Countless scenes of body cultivators roaming the immortal cultivation world flashed through their minds. Their breathing unconsciously quickened. Chapter 897. After Lu Kuan and Zhu Siming finished their discussion, Lu Kuan summoned Huang Xiaoyun and asked him to refine the breastbone spirit-controlling magic tools, as well as arrange the cultivation of the Vajra spell. He also threw a bag of spirit stones to Huang Xiaoyun. Currently, there were more than 200 people who had reached the Vajra spell. Aside from the cost of the magic tool materials, cultivating in this barren mountain range would also consume a large amount of spirit stones. In the past few days, Lu Kuan had arranged the cultivation of everyone in the body refining pavilion. Among the first-generation disciples, those who entered the bone treasure stage would increase their battle prowess, while the others would try their best to break through to the bone treasure stage. In the past few days, Zhu Xiaofeng had arranged all the earth firestones in the treasure pavilion. More than 10 second-generation disciples were using the stones to cultivate. A few days ago, Zhao Qingtian and Pan Yin set off for the Holy Poison Sect in the West Prefecture of the state of Qi. When the first batch of poisons arrived, the second-generation disciples would definitely advance by leaps and bounds through dual cultivation. Now that the Holy Poison Sect had an abundant supply of poisons, they had to make full use of them to speed up the cultivation of the body refining pavilion disciples. The 50 or so young martial artists with spirit roots had also gathered near Dahe and Corpse Priest's cave residence. They were using the power of cold and demon chi to increase the efficiency of body tempering. If the remaining several hundred martial artists knew that they had the possibility of cultivating as mortals, they would probably cultivate even more crazily than the official disciples. All of this would consume spirit stones. If Lu Kuan hadn't taken away most of old Devil Pang's belongings, they probably wouldn't have been able to support the expenses for 30 years. After discussing the details of the tool spirit root, Lu Kuan took out an iron hammer with dim magic patterns and placed it in the middle of the three. The ground shook slightly when the hammer fell. Senior Martial Brother Qin, Martial Uncle Zhu, This is the Heaven Hammer, a top-grade devil tool. Unfortunately, it was damaged during the tribulation. Zhu Siming's peak core formation spiritual sense emerged from his body and scanned the devil artifact. Then, he made a hand seal, and the Heaven Hammer slowly floated into the air. He clicked his tongue and said, "It's actually so heavy. It must contain extremely dense materials. Unfortunately, the patterns inside are different from the miniature spell formation. Immortal cultivators can't unleash its power." Lu Kuan said, "At that time, I took a fancy to the Heaven Hammer's heavy weight and hard material, so I bought it at the auction house." These 2 points can bring the brute force of the body to the extreme and greatly improve the fighting power of the treasure bone stage. I didn't expect that I would barely be able to bring out some of the demon vessel's power by chance. Qin Yushu was also observing this weapon, which was completely different from a magic weapon. He couldn't help but ask, how did the Pavilion Master activate it? Did he use magic? Lu Kuan said, ordinary demonic power can't activate it. Back then, my blood demonic power underwent an unusual change because I refined the true demonic will. Coupled with the demon arm divine ability, I barely activated it. Zhu Siming asked, the true demonic will? Is it the brutal will contained in the true demonic pool? Lu Kuan nodded and said, that's right. Later, old Demon Pang also got this weapon. It seems that he can use the demon vessel with the divine ability of the blood demon technique, and the blood demon technique is a technique that relies on the true demonic will to break through. This means that the true demonic will is one of the conditions to use the demon vessel. Zhu Siming nodded and continued to look at the demon veins on the Heaven Hammer. He said softly, Pavilion Master, the demon veins on this demon vessel don't seem to be damaged by external forces. Lu Kuan was slightly stunned and said, how did Masters Junior Zhu know? Zhu Siming pointed to one of the dimmed demon veins and said, look, the fine veins here are bursting from the inside out. If it was caused by external forces, there would definitely be cracks on it. Lu Kuan also used his divine sense to investigate and found that it was indeed so. He frowned and said, is it because of demon ability? Demon ability? Qin Yushu and Zhu Siming asked in unison. Lu Kuan explained simply, after entering the bone transformation stage, the energy in the body of a body cultivator is a combination of magic power and demon ability. It is a tyrannical energy that can temper the bones. When I used demon ability to activate Tu Tianqing's magic weapon, it only took one attack to completely destroy the magic weapon's internal array. The Heaven Hammer was also damaged by demon ability. Inferring from this, the demon ability of a body cultivator is definitely much more tyrannical than that of the demon race. Qin Yushu and Zhu Siming were somewhat baffled. The combination of magic power and demon ability. The demon race also had a similar energy. Demon ability? After a pause, Zhu Siming asked again, Pavilion Master, how did you use the Heaven Hammer during the tribulation? This magic weapon's material is extremely strong and shouldn't be easily damaged. Lu Kuan recalled, at that time, I used a bloodline ability to absorb the remaining true demon water in the demon cave. I originally wanted to use the true demon intent to activate the Heaven Hammer, but who knew that the demon ability in my body would unexpectedly activate the demon ability's greatest power. The demon ability's greatest power, Lu Kuan slowly said. Under the infusion of demon ability, not only did the Heaven Hammer contain a terrifying amount of power, but it also absorbed demon origin energy. Its power increased sharply and scattered a lot of thunder tribulation. Zhu Siming's eyes widened and he cried out, Demon origin energy! Is this magic weapon a heavenly magic weapon? Heavenly magic weapon? Zhu Siming seemed to know about demon origin energy and hurriedly asked, Pavilion Master, are you sure it's demon origin energy on the same level as the world's origin energy? Lu Kuan said with certainty that aura is very similar to the thunder tribulation that contains the world's origin energy. I can't be wrong. He then asked, Martial Uncle Zhu, could it be that a magic weapon that can attract the world's origin energy is the legendary heavenly magic weapon? Zhu Siming composed himself and looked at the heaven hammer, whose demonic patterns had dimmed, and said, "That's right. I've seen descriptions of heavenly magic weapons in the sect's ancient records. This kind of magic weapon actually belongs to the category of spirit-connected magic weapons, but it's the top spirit-connected magic weapons. The biggest difference between it and ordinary spirit-connected magic weapons is that it can use the world's origin energy to perform all kinds of inconceivable abilities." Zhu Siming sighed. According to the ancient records, this kind of powerful magic weapon can only be refined by spirit-severing cultivators. After all, using the world's origin energy is a spirit-severing cultivator's ability. Ordinary heavenly magic weapons can't be used by nascent soul early-stage cultivators, and nascent soul mid-stage cultivators can barely use them after paying a certain price. Only grand cultivators can use heavenly magic weapons normally. A nascent soul mid-stage cultivator with the help of such a powerful magic weapon is definitely not weaker than a grand cultivator. Not to mention a grand cultivator. With a heavenly magic weapon, their strength is almost at the peak of the nascent soul stage. Lu Kuan said thoughtfully, "The heaven hammer can use demon origin energy. It seems to be a weapon on the same level as a heavenly magic weapon." Zhu Siming looked at the dimmed heaven hammer with a pained expression. This demonic artifact must have been refined by a soul formation stage expert of the demon race. "Pavilion Master, I didn't expect your demonic energy to be so tyrannical that it could even destroy such a top-notch treasure," Lu Kuan said with a headache. "Since it involves a spirit-severing cultivator, I'm afraid this heaven hammer can't be repaired. Demonic weapons are also not suitable for body cultivators' demon origin energy. It seems that bone transformation stage weapons are far away." Qin Yushu heard this and asked, "Pavilion Master wants to refine a weapon that can withstand demon origin energy." Lu Kuan sighed. "Yes, if I have a weapon that can withstand demon origin energy, my combat strength will be further improved, and I will have a greater chance of dealing with Old Devil Sure. I didn't expect that a heavenly magic weapon level demonic weapon can't withstand such overbearing demon origin energy." Qin Yushu suddenly said, "Pavilion Master, your bones are all bone treasures. How can they bear demon origin energy?" Lu Kuan was stunned for a moment, and then he showed a surprised expression. "Yes, why didn't I think of it? I can use my bone treasures as a reference." Chapter 898. Zhu Siming looked at Lu Kuan, who seemed to have just woken up from a dream, and added, "If Pavilion Master has a headache about the demon ability, then there's no need to consider other magic treasures or abilities. Pavilion Master can compare the demon ability to your bone treasures. As for the materials, you can refer to the Jade Bone humanoid demon. After all, this treasure is a fusion of the 5 elements and the essence of the demon race. It's similar to the fusion of magic power and demon ability." Hearing this, Qin Yushu's expression changed. "After killing Tian Renjia, Pavilion Master left some demon race corpses with me. They should be useful." Qin Yushu waved his hand, and 8 strange purplish-black skeletons appeared on the ground. They were similar in shape to humans, but there were some bone spurs at the joints. Lu Kuan looked at these skeletons and suddenly remembered that half of the Black Fiend Demon King's corpse was also in a storage rib. It was refined from the Demon King's corpse, so it could also be used as a refining material. Seeing Lu Kuan in deep thought, Qin Yushu and Zhu Siming looked at each other. The latter said, "Demon ability is unique to Pavilion Master. We can't give you any suggestions, so we'll take our leave first." Lu Kuan sighed. "Since you've already provided the idea, then I'll leave the matter of the artifact's spirit root to you. Haha, we're all family. Pavilion Master doesn't need to be so polite." After Qin Yushu and Zhu Siming left, Lu Kuan remained on the top platform of the tower. He lowered his head and pondered. From the end of the tribulation until now, he hadn't studied the later stages of cultivation. Without a suitable place to cultivate, he had to use the demon stones and spirit stones sparingly. The bone transformation stage was equivalent to the nascent soul stage. Lu Kuan's lifespan was ample. The most important thing now was to increase his combat strength and seize the miraculous gate territory. Besides the comprehension of combat techniques, the only thing that could increase his combat strength was his weapon. Lu Kuan looked at the heaven hammer in his hand. Many of the runes on its surface had been destroyed by the mana, not to mention the arrays inside. This demonic tool was a treasure on the same level as a heavenly magic treasure. Apart from the magic pattern array, the materials used to make it were all extremely valuable. Thus, he was biting off more than he could chew. Putting away the heaven hammer, Lu Kuan sank his consciousness into his body and began to circulate the demon energy within his bone treasure. He wanted to experience the state of the demon energy within his bone treasure. He did not know if it was because his focus was different, but he quickly noticed a few details that he had not noticed before. When the devil energy activated the bone treasure, a layer of complicated patterns would appear on the surface of the bone treasure. It was the elemental spirit array carved by Old Devil Pang, the unique array pattern of the psychic puppet. During the transformation of the body to the origin, the spirit essence array would accelerate the formation of the body's origin strength. If other body cultivators wanted to break through to the bone transformation stage, then this spirit essence array was necessary. Not long ago, when Lu Kuan was comprehending combat techniques, he discovered another function of the spirit essence array. It strengthened the control of the body's origin strength. If there was no spirit essence array to stabilize the application of the complex force field, it would be difficult to use. In addition to the spirit essence array, Lu Kuan also noticed a key point in the circulation of the demon energy within his body. That was, when the demon energy supported the bone treasure, it did not directly circulate within the bone treasure. Instead, it was carried within the blood. The demon energy was a combination of blood essence, demon energy, and chaos energy. It was the product of the body's origin transformation. It was also a bridge between the body and energy. The demon energy could activate the flesh condensation technique and circulate throughout the body through the blood. It was inseparable from the blood. Could it be that the demon energy within the bone treasure was related to the blood? Thinking of this, Lu Kuan took out a long saber magic weapon. Silver demon energy poured into it through his palm and observed the changes within. After the demon energy left the blood, although it was still under control, it seemed to be missing something. It churned happily in the magic weapon, bringing with it a destructive aura, attacking the miniature array inside. Lu Kuan's mind moved, and the long saber magic weapon surged with an origin force field. The distorted air wrapped around the magic weapon, emitting a heart-palpitating pressure. The moment he used the body's origin strength, the demon energy within a magic weapon immediately became more ferocious. A series of slight explosions were heard, and more than half of the miniature array inside the magic weapon collapsed. Lu Kuan seemed to understand something and spat out another mouthful of silver blood. The silver blood wrapped around the magic weapon, and the demon energy in the blood surged into it. However, the density of the blood was too high, and it could only adhere to the surface of the magic weapon. After a while, the remaining arrays in the magic weapon were all destroyed. Lu Kuan's eyes lit up. He sat cross-legged and entered a state of cultivation. He transferred the life force in his body to the bone treasure. The demon energy trembled slightly and turned into chaos magic power and blood demon energy. A destructive force surged in the depths of the bones. His expression was solemn. He ignored the tumbling demon energy and carefully felt the condition of the blood and bone treasure. The demon energy was in a state of cultivation. It had lost the balance of life force and became incomparably violent. The blood also lacked a lively aura. The sturdy array of the bone treasure flashed, resisting the violent, destructive power. The trace of life force wandered in the bone treasure, helping the bone treasure to temper itself. After observing for a while, Lu Kuan left the state of cultivation. He took out a long banner magic weapon and poured a stream of demon energy into it. He did not do anything else and quietly observed. After about 10 breaths of time, the silver energy was divided into magic power and demon energy. They annihilated each other and destroyed most of the miniature arrays in the magic weapon. Lu Kuan murmured, "So the key point is the life force. Without the life force, the demon energy is so domineering." After observing just now, he found that the place where the life force resided was the flesh and not the demon energy. The switch between the state of cultivation and the state of battle was just the transfer of the life force between the bone treasure and the blood. When the demon energy left the body, it lost the balance of life force. The energy inside surged with each other and became very fierce. It relied on the remaining life force to barely maintain it for 10 breaths of time. The life force is attached to the bones and blood. If the magic weapon is forged according to the structure of the bones, forming a multi-layered structure, such as dense bone, cancellous bone, and marrow cavity, storing blood essence in the depths and integrating the life force, wouldn't it be the same as the bone treasure and be able to carry the demon energy? Lu Kuan's thoughts suddenly became clear. As for the control of the demon energy, I can start with the elemental spirit array. The elemental spirit array of the bone treasure has been finalized, but I can improve the elemental spirit array of the weapon by referring to the combat skills of the body cultivator. If I need a defensive type, I will match the operation method of the source vortex. If I need the power of vibration, I will adjust the elemental spirit array according to the changes in the Palm Technique's source force field. Lu Kuan clenched his fist excitedly, causing the air to explode. Except for the sturdy array, no other arrays are needed. The weapons of the bone transformation stage are magic weapons that use the demon energy to flexibly exert the origin power of the body. Lu Kuan looked excited as if he had discovered a new world. If this method is feasible, it means that the weapons of the bone transformation stage can be combined with the combat skills of the body cultivator, and the power of the combat skills can be fully displayed. Lu Kuan thought of something again, and his expression stagnated. The life force has been integrated with the body, and there's only a trace. Without it, the cultivation of the bone transformation stage cannot be carried out, and it is impossible to use it for refining. That's right. A bold idea suddenly emerged in his mind. The life force comes from the heavenly tribulation, then the transformation thunder tribulation of the monster cultivator. Will it also produce the life force? Lu Kuan's eyes flashed, exuding a bit of coldness. He had a plan in his mind. Then he looked at the demon skeleton under his feet. The structure of the weapon had a general idea, so it was time to choose the materials. Martial Uncle Zhu was right. The demon energy was a mixture of magic power and demon energy. The material of the jade bone humanoid demon was the best reference. P.S. This chapter counts as yesterday's. It will continue to be updated 10 times this week. Chapter 899. In the West Prefecture of the state of Qi, where rogue cultivators gathered, there was a cultivator city built on top of a huge rock, Monolith City. In the center of the city, where the spiritual Qi and demonic Qi were the densest, there were 3 cave residences owned by the 3 city lords of Monolith City. The 3 city lords were all mid-nascent soul stage cultivators, and their powers complemented each other. If they worked together, they could even fight against a grand cultivator. In the middle of the city lord's residence, a green-haired middle-aged man sat in the hall. He held a teacup and narrowed his eyes, savoring the wonderful taste of the tea that lingered on the tip of his tongue. This green-haired man with a deep aura was the 2nd city lord of Monolith City, Ba Fengyan, a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator. Across from him sat an old man with an extraordinary bearing. This old man had a pair of extremely long eyebrows that fell all the way to his neck, making him look like an immortal. This old man with long eyebrows was the 3rd city lord of Monolith City, son and son, and poured himself a cup of tea and said, "Second brother, I haven't seen big brother in a while. He still hasn't come out this time. Could it be that his cultivation has reached a critical point?" Ba Fingyin put down his cup and said with a sorrowful expression, Big Brother has already left Monolith City for a long time. Sunan was slightly surprised and asked, Big Brother is much older than us. Could it be? Ba Fingyin sighed and tears flashed in his eyes. Sigh, Big Brother is a whole 300 years older than us. 50 years ago, he almost reached the end of his life. I think he didn't want to see us sad and left alone to wait for the end of his life. Sunan showed a pained expression and said, Why is Big Brother like this? At least say hello to us brothers. His relatives are still in Monolith City. Didn't he make proper arrangements? Ba Fingyin wiped his eyes and said slowly, Big Brother was born as a rogue cultivator and always acted alone. Naturally, he wouldn't care about his family. However, as his sworn brother, I have already arranged for the Luo family's disciples to not be oppressed by other strong cultivators. If Big Brother knew, he would be relieved. When Sunan heard this, he really wanted to spit out the tea in his mouth and cursed fiercely in his heart. Ba Fingyin knew that with his elder brother Luo Kuan's age, he would definitely keep an eye on him. After Luo Kuan left, this second city lord searched through his immortal cave and the Luo family's people. Sunan secretly hated himself for being in seclusion for such a long time. He had always been thinking about the treasures in Luo Kuan's hands. Now, it seemed that those treasures had either been taken into the coffin by that old man, or they had fallen into Ba Fingyin's pocket. However, even if Sunan knew that Ba Fingyin was doing this, there was nothing he could do. Not only was his second brother's demonic energy profound, but he also had several astonishing secret techniques. His strength and divine abilities were stronger than his own. Moreover, unlike him, Ba Fingyin's son, Ba Yongkai, was also a nascent soul cultivator. The father and son cultivated the same cultivation method, and they trusted each other very much. Their combined strength was much stronger than his. Ba Fingyin looked at the long-browed old man's complicated expression and said without changing his expression, Third brother, now is not the time to miss Big Brother. Have you heard the recent rumors? When Sunan heard this, he couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Second brother, are you talking about the blood-refining sect? Ba Fingyin poured a cup of tea and said, There are rumors outside that when old Devil Pang was breaking through to the spirit-severing stage, he was ambushed by his disciple, Qian Jingshan, and died. Sun's white eyebrows trembled. If old Devil Pang failed to break through to the spirit-severing stage, I would believe it. As for being ambushed by Qian Jingshan, it must be a rumor. Qian Jingshan is the same as us, a mid-nascent soul cultivator. I'm afraid he couldn't even take a single blow from old Devil Pang. Besides, why would someone like old Devil Pang let others get close to him when he was breaking through? Ba Fingyin said, Although it's false, the blood-refining sect didn't say anything in the 3 years since the rumors came out, as if they had tacitly agreed. Sunan was a little surprised. Second brother, you mean old Devil Pang has already? Ba Fingyin's eyes flickered. As far as I know, old Devil Pang is older than Big Brother Luo Kuan. If he succeeded in breaking through, why would the blood-refining sect be quiet for 3 years? Sunan was a little excited. If he failed to break through, it means that old Devil Pang's lifespan is exhausted. The Seven Fiends sect and the Yin-Yang sect will definitely take action against the blood-refining sect. If the 3 sects fight, then it's time for our Monolith City to fish in troubled waters. Ba Fingyin chuckled. The blood-refining sect isn't that easy to deal with. Although they lost their great cultivators, Situ Hao and Lu Yanjun are still there. Apart from cultivating the blood demon arts, they're also proficient in dual cultivation. Their combined strength isn't inferior to any great cultivator. The Seven Fiends sect and the Yin-Yang sect are on guard against each other. They won't mobilize all their forces. When the time comes, they will definitely seek help from the devil cultivators of the West Continent. Sunan smiled. That's right. Our Monolith City is right next to the blood-refining sect's territory. If the Seven Fiends sect and the Yin-Yang sect really want to attack the blood-refining sect, they will definitely come to us first. Ba Fengyan revealed a mysterious smile. Not long ago, the Yin sect contacted me. They are the furthest away from us and have no conflict of interest with Monolith City. The Rogue Cultivator Alliance is their best choice. Sunan asked, "What does the Yin sect want us to do?" Ba Fengyan said, "This is confidential. I have already arranged for Ba Yonkai to go to the Yin sect. You should be back soon." Sun and revealed a greedy expression. Without old Demon Pang, the Blood Refining sect is definitely no match for the other two sections. When the time comes, the entire South Continent will be divided by the two Devil sects. We can ask for a part of the Blood Refining sect's territory. For example, the area west of the Death Abyss. There are many spirit mines there. One of them even has a chance of producing Devil Stones. Ba Fengyan shook his head. "No hurry. Let's wait for Ba Yonkai to come back and see the Yin sect's conditions first. I think the Seven Fiends sect will also contact us in the near future. At that time, we can fight for the best conditions." Sun smiled. "Wonderful. This way, we can fight for the best benefits. It seems that our Monolith City's opportunity has arrived." Ba Fengyan's eyes revealed a look of approval. Then, his expression turned serious. "However, we still have to be careful in this sect war. There are many old monsters in the three devil sects with amazing abilities. If we're not careful, we might be in danger of dying." Then, he took out a flickering jade slip and said, "Recently, I have obtained a life-saving secret art. I will give it to Third Brother to study. Make preparations first. When Ba Yonkai comes back, I will discuss it with Third Brother." Sun took the jade slip and scanned it with his consciousness. He found that it was actually his big brother Luo Kuan's life-saving secret art. His right hand trembled. He pretended to be calm and said, "Thank you, Second Brother. I will go back and study it now." Looking at Sun and who left in a hurry, a trace of imperceptible coldness flashed in the depths of Ba Fengyan's eyes. "That old bastard probably won't know until he dies that I, Ba Fengyan, am a disciple of the Blood Refining sect. It's just that I've been hiding in the West Continent. Otherwise, with old Demon Pang's temper, how could he not intervene in Monolith City? Without old Demon Pang, the Blood Refining sect might not have the highest combat strength, but their strength will increase instead. This Devil Dao Overlord used the true devil intent to seal the Blood Demon Cave, forcing the nascent soul cultivators who cultivate the Blood Demon art to consult him about the follow-up cultivation of the Blood Demon art. Thus, he firmly controlled the Blood Refining sect in his hands. Situ Hao and Lu Yanjun relied on the dual cultivation secret art to coincidentally break through to the mid-stage nascent soul realm. If the restriction of the Blood Demon Cave is lifted, those old bastards who cultivate the Blood Demon art will definitely advance further. Thinking of this, a trace of fear flashed in Ba Fengyan's eyes. Qin Jingshan has entered the late-stage nascent soul realm. His illusions are extremely terrifying. With the help of his illusions, those old monsters can even burst out with stronger combat strength. P.S. This book will be free for a limited time from March 6th to 8th. I estimate that I will write more than 10 chapters during these days. You can read it on that day. M. Chapter 901. Somewhere in the western region of the state of Qi, a dark green streak of light was flying in the sky of the western region. It emitted a terrifying nascent soul stage aura, causing all the cultivators to hold their breaths for fear of provoking such a terrifying nascent soul stage expert. Ba Yonkai flew in the direction of the Monolith City with a myriad of thoughts in his mind. Father probably didn't expect that the Yin sect and the Seven Fiends sect had already agreed on a joint plan. The two demonic sects would attack the Blood Refining sect from two different directions and formulate a detailed strategy. They will distribute the inheritance and resources of the Blood Refining sect according to the ratio of contribution points. Originally, the Seven Fiends sect was slightly weaker than the Yin sect. However, they have roped in the 5 sects and 3 clans of the western region, and their overall strength has greatly increased. This way, Even though the Sacred Yin-Yang sect has two great cultivators, Sacred Master Yang and Sacred Master Yin, the rest of their mid-tier and high-end cultivators are much weaker. Right now, they can only work with us to suppress the Seven Fiends sect and obtain more war contribution points. By Yonkai's side, he didn't expect the two demonic sects to be so decisive. After confirming the news of Old Fiend Pang's death, they immediately took action. In an instant, the forces of the Eastern region, Northern region, and Western region were all stirred up. At this time, Bai Yonkai had a deeper understanding of Old Fiend Pang's strength. A few decades ago, this powerful demonic cultivator had looked for him. At that time, Old Fiend Pang had concealed his aura. He didn't feel anything other than some pressure. Now, it seemed that the #1 great cultivator of the state of Qi had suppressed the 3 great cultivators of the Seven Fiends sect and the Yin-Yang sect by himself. He was so powerful that it made one's hair stand on end. A trace of worry flashed in Bai Yonkai's eyes. Without Old Fiend Pang, the blood-refining sect's strength has greatly decreased. Why does Father still insist on cooperating with the blood-refining sect? Could it be that the blood-refining sect still has a hidden great cultivator? His expression changed as if he had thought of something. Right? The miraculous Gate of the Way state has an agreement with the blood-refining sect. When Shi Jingtian destroyed the Yang clan, he had already reached the peak of the mid-nascent soul stage. After 100 years of seclusion, could he have entered the great cultivator realm and helped the blood-refining sect? The other two sects have 3 grand cultivators. Their strength is overwhelming. Bai Yonkai shook his head again. Forget it. It's useless for me to think too much. Father knows more about the blood-refining sect. He must have his reasons for forming an alliance with the blood-refining sect, even after knowing about Old Demon Pang's death. I just need to tell him about the Yin-Yang sect. Besides, even if the blood-refining sect is not strong enough, we won't lose anything. If we arrange things properly, we might be able to kill a few nascent soul realm cultivators. Bai Yonkai's eyes were filled with greed. Ever since he entered the nascent soul stage, he rarely had the chance to kill others and steal their treasures. His cultivation had also stagnated. This large-scale war was his chance. Thinking of this, Bai Yonkai sped up and streaked across the sky in a dark green arc gradually. A gigantic boulder, hundreds of miles long and wide, appeared on the horizon. Bai Yonkai suddenly frowned when he was about 100 miles away from Monolith City. Who dares to break the rules and attack people within 100 miles of the Monolith City? Bloodfang is the one maintaining the city defense formation today. How come he didn't notice? Bai Yonkai used his divine sense to explore the location of the battle. He saw a burly bald man lying on the ground. His body was faintly emitting core formation, stage demonic chi. His divine sense was very weak, as if he was on the verge of death. A pair of grayish-black withered hands were strangling the bald man's neck. They were emitting an extremely dense yin chi. A gray light flashed, and the burly man and his withered hands disappeared. Under the soil on the ground, an obscure yin chi was flashing and moving quickly towards the distance. If Bai Yonkai didn't have the powerful divine sense of a nascent soul stage cultivator, he might not have noticed it. Such dense yin chi. Could it be a bronze armored corpse? When did the creatures of the death abyss become so bold? Not only did they leave the abyss, but they also came to ambush our Monolith City. Bai Yonkai looked in the direction of the Monolith City. He was pleasantly surprised when he found that the nascent soul stage cultivator maintaining the city defense formation didn't notice it. This is just the edge of the formation, and it's a high-grade bronze armored corpse. It's normal that Bloodfang didn't notice it. I don't dare to enter the death abyss, but this bronze armored corpse ran out on its own. Don't blame me. Bai Yonkai carefully sensed the direction of the bronze armored corpse with his divine sense. He restrained his demonic chi and turned into an invisible streak of light, closely following the yin chi underground. Bai Yonkai was a rogue cultivator. He wouldn't let go of any opportunity to increase his strength. The bronze armor corpse could be considered a great help. Even if he didn't want it, he could use it to exchange. The Death Abyss was guarded by level 10 dark insects. Nascent soul stage cultivators didn't dare to rashly enter, and core formation stage cultivators couldn't defeat the bronze armored corpse in that environment. As a result, high-level zombies were extremely rare in the outside world. For nascent soul stage cultivators who were proficient in corpse refining, the value of the bronze armored corpse was extremely high. After following the corpse for more than 10 miles, Bai Yonkai estimated that the battle wouldn't spread to the monolith city. He raised his demonic chi, and a dark green jade ruler shot out. It quickly sank into the soil where the bronze armored corpse had escaped. The bronze armored corpse, stealthily moving underground, felt the terrifying pressure of a nascent soul stage cultivator. It let out a wave of panic. Its inchi fluctuated violently, as if it wanted to speed up its escape. However, Bai Yonkai launched a sneak attack. Coupled with the attack speed of a nascent soul stage magic weapon, the bronze armored corpse didn't have time to do anything. Boom! A huge explosion resounded. Accompanied by countless flashes of spiritual light, a huge pit dozens of feet wide was blasted open in the ground. The bronze armored corpse was half kneeling in the middle. Its inchi had weakened by more than half. However, its grayish-black flesh was slightly damaged. It didn't seem to have suffered too much damage. The green ruler floated above its head. A dark green demonic chi enveloped its body and imprisoned it in place. As for the burly man's body, it was lying to the side. There was no sign of his soul. He was obviously dead. Bai Yonkai's divine sense swept over and was pleasantly surprised. It's actually a top-notch bronze armor corpse. Its inchi is so powerful. It's only a step away from becoming a silver armored corpse. No wonder it took the risk to launch a sneak attack on a core formation stage cultivator. Only by swallowing and refining a large amount of gold cores can it break through to the silver armored corpse stage. The cultivation of zombies was extremely slow. It would often take them over 1,000 years to reach the realm of bronze armored zombies. Every breakthrough after that would take a long time. The zombie before him was close to breaking through, which meant that he only needed to pay a small price to help it break through. If this bronze armored corpse could successfully break through and become a silver armored corpse, which was comparable to an early nascent soul stage cultivator, then Bai Yonkai's strength would immediately skyrocket. Old Monster Ma of the blood refining sect had a silver armored corpse servant. Although both were only early nascent soul stage cultivators, when they joined forces, their battle prowess was close to a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator. Wait, something's wrong. Bai Yonkai raised his eyebrows and turned his head to look at the bald man who was lying in the pit. Under the attack of my green ruler, the bronze armored corpse's body was intact. Why is this core formation demonic chi cultivator's body also unscathed? At this moment, the dead bald man suddenly opened his eyes and looked at Bai Yonkai. The muscles on his face twisted and turned into a face with thick eyebrows and big eyes. The bald man smiled, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. Chapter 902. It's you. Bai Yonkai's pupils shrank as he immediately recognized him. It was the guy who used his physical strength to withstand the attack of a nascent soul stage cultivator. This person also had 200 magic treasures in his body. After using a secret technique, his escape light was comparable to a mid-nascent soul stage cultivator. No, this is a trap. Bai Yonkai's expression changed. This guy who was covered in muscles could withstand the power of his nascent soul stage. His physical defense was even more terrifying than the bronze armored corpse. How could he be killed by the bronze armored corpse? Just as these thoughts flashed through his mind, he felt the air around him tighten abruptly, and a terrifying brute force gushed out from all directions, bringing along a wave of unfamiliar fluctuations as it pressed down on his body. The mana shield outside his body even emitted creaking sounds as if it was unable to bear the burden. Bai Yonkai's body trembled as he revealed a look of fear. What kind of terrifying magic is this? Is there a nascent soul stage Cultivator hiding in the dark. Accompanied by an explosion, a hole appeared on the ground below the bald man. The burly figure appeared in front of him as if it had teleported. Ba Yonkai was stunned as he realized that the confinement force in the void had suddenly disappeared. The bald man's eyes were cold. He stretched out his left hand and raised his index and middle fingers. An astonishing treasure light soared into the sky as a force field rotated around his fingers like an invisible whirlwind. The surface of his fingers was wrapped in a layer of dazzling silver light. At the tip of his index and middle fingers, there were two small vortexes floating. The bald man's expression was focused. His left arm quickly expanded, and his thick muscles twisted in a unique rhythm. The two small vortexes on his fingertips trembled slightly and fused together. The series of movements of his fingers happened almost in an instant. An incomparably terrifying pressure spread out from it. Ba Yonkai's face suddenly became pale. No matter how slow his reaction was, he understood that there were no other nascent soul stage cultivators here. It was the guy in front of him who actually used a few decades to enter the nascent soul stage from the mid-nascent soul stage. The magic he used was even more unheard of. Ba Yonkai felt the aura of death emitted by this finger. He had no time to dodge and could only desperately inject the power of his nascent soul stage into the barrier. Puchipa, a Yonkai's eyes widened. This finger was like a top-notch flying needle magic treasure. It carried a terrifying, penetrating power, easily penetrating the magic shield and stabbing into his glabella. Immediately after, the thick palm opened up and was wrapped in a layer of silver light. A semicircular, formless vortex appeared in the center of the palm. A powerful suction force emerged from within, and Ba Yonkai's remaining body was torn apart. Large amounts of flesh and blood were stirred into a bloody mist by the semicircular vortex. The storage pouch was controlled by an unknown power and landed on the bald man's waist. A panicked expression appeared on the nascent soul's face. The sudden suction force had interrupted the teleportation ability it was about to unleash. However, just as he was about to resist the suction force and activate the teleportation technique again, the bald man stretched out his right palm. There was also a semicircular force field vortex surging on it. His palms were facing each other. Two semicircular invisible force fields formed a closed sphere, enveloping Ba Yonkai's 3-inch nascent soul. A look of despair appeared on the nascent soul's face. It could feel that there was an invisible force field rapidly rotating in the void around it. It couldn't use the teleportation ability at all. Moreover, the suction force between the two palms formed a unique balance with each other. It imprisoned the nascent soul and made it difficult to mobilize its power. Seeing this, the bald man revealed a satisfied smile. His lips moved slightly, and the copper-armored corpse turned into a ray of gray light and sank into his ribs. Then, the bald man turned into an astonishing streak of light and shot into the distance. After about a quarter of an hour, a skinny old man wearing a blood-red robe shot over from the distance. He looked at the remaining traces of dark green light in a large pit with a puzzled expression. Isn't this the azure demonic light? Who is Ba Yonkai fighting? Then, the skinny old man cast a detection spell. A few traces of energy drifted out from the pit and gathered in front of him. Could it be that Ba Yonkai encountered a bronze-armored corpse nearby? But where did he go? Why didn't he enter the city? The skinny old man was puzzled. He shook his head and returned to Monolith City. Lu Kuan stood on a barren mountain at the border between the western and southern provinces of the state of Qi. His powerful, mid-nascent soul spirit was fluctuating in a unique way. The dark green nascent soul between his palms was twitching nonstop with a dispirited expression. The corpse priest stood beside Lu Kuan and looked at the nascent soul with eager eyes. His gray-black tongue licked his lips from time to time, revealing an expression of extreme desire. Lu Kuan was currently using a nascent soul cultivator's unique ability, the soul-searching technique. Fortunately, this secret technique only relied on the power of one spirit. If it required the power of a nascent soul, Lu Kuan would have no chance with this practical technique. Lu Kuan had already been in the bone transformation stage for 4 years. Thus, he had a much deeper understanding of physique cultivation's combat skills. What he used just now was the Whirlpool Finger and the Origin Cage, two newly created combat skills. The Whirlpool Finger was based on his conjecture. It compressed the Origin energy field at the tip of one's finger. It was equivalent to condensing one's physical strength into a single point. Currently, he could only condense a small portion of his physical strength. Even so, the penetrative power of the Whirlpool Finger was incomparably terrifying. It easily broke through an early nascent soul cultivator's barrier. As for the Origin energy cage, Lu Kuan used the special characteristics of the Origin energy whirlpool to cast a controlling ability to imprison Ba Yonkai's nascent soul. After half an hour, Lu Kuan stopped using the soul-searching technique. The nascent soul in the Origin energy cage was extremely weak, and its soul was barely there. Lu Kuan shook his head and said somewhat tiredly, "I've searched this guy's soul 3 times. Its soul is on the verge of dissipating. If you devour and refine it, there shouldn't be any problems." After saying this, he removed the Origin energy cage from his palms and threw the extremely weak nascent soul to Priest Corpse. The latter couldn't wait any longer. He stretched out his long and narrow tongue and wrapped the nascent soul, swallowing it in one gulp. Soon after, the cold energy in Priest Corpse's body began to surge violently. From time to time, waves of nascent soul energy would surge out. Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a golden light. He observed the situation inside Priest Corpse's body and pondered. He returned to the state of Qi because he had a few important things to do. One of them was to help Priest Corpse break through. If Priest Corpse could become a silver-armored corpse, then he would have more confidence in destroying the miraculous gate. According to Lu Kuan's judgment, devouring and refining nascent souls was the key to becoming a silver-armored corpse. Therefore, he had to capture a nascent soul alive. Ba Yongkai, who had fought with him and was mentioned by old Demon Pang, became his target. He inquired from Yu Longfei and learned that Ba Yongkai, Demon King Qing Luo, was the deputy city lord of Monolith City. This person was secretly cooperating with the blood-refining sect. When the 3 great demon sects were about to erupt into a war, he would definitely take action. As Lu Kuan expected, Ba Yongkai had only stayed in Monolith City for a little more than a year before he seized the opportunity. Priest Corpse absorbed the inner core of the Razor Nether Scorpion. The cold energy in his body is incomparably dense. However, the nascent soul energy is of a higher level. The consumption of the cold energy is enormous. This place is not suitable for a silver-armored corpse to break through. Lu Kuan immediately thought of a suitable place. He wrapped Priest Corpse in the Origin energy field and shot towards the state of Wei. Chapter 903. The Land of Death was located between the state of Wei and the state of Chu. It was filled with cold energy and low-level undead creatures. There were also many remnants of ancient restrictions. Ordinary Foundation establishment stage cultivators would have to take a great risk to pass through the Land of Death. North of the Death Scar, this area of undead creatures would gradually sink, forming a death canyon that stretched for thousands of miles. This canyon was located between Chu, Qi, and Wei. It was about 10 zhang deep. It was a stretch to call it canyon, so the surrounding cultivators called it the Death Scar. At the northern end of the Death Scar was the famous Death Abyss in Qi, located in the territory of Blood Refining Sect. One day, Lu Kuan took Priest Corpse, who was in a cultivating state, to the border between the Death Scar and the Abyss. Lu Kuan scanned the surrounding area with his strong spirit power, then reached the entrance of an underground cave. Lu Kuan directly brought Priest Corpse into the cave. Soon, countless squeaking sounds came from inside. A large number of gray rats scurried out of the cave. Their cries were filled with terror. Hundreds of gray rats had cold energy inside their bodies. Except for 10 or so of them who were at Foundation establishment, the rest were all Qi refining level undead creatures. In the deepest part of the cave, all kinds of pale white bones were scattered on the ground. There were also a few unknown herbs. In the corner of the cave, a watermelon-sized black-furred rat was crawling on the ground. Its shiny black tail was curled up, and its fat body was trembling. Its big eyes were filled with terror. Lu Kuan placed Priest Corpse in the center of the cave. Feeling the dense, cold, energy, he frowned and sighed. This is already the place with the densest, cold, energy in the Death Scar. From Bai Yonkai's memories, the Death Abyss is a forbidden area for nascent soul cultivators. It is filled with cold, energy. There is no spirit energy or devil energy. Cultivators who enter the Death Abyss will have their fighting power greatly reduced. Moreover, there are level 10 existences in the Death Abyss. Some nascent soul cultivators have fallen in there. Lu Kuan recalled the high-level nether insect he encountered in the Yuan secret realm. That razor-venomous scorpion was still alright. Purely based on its physical body, it was a level 9 underworld insect. With his current cultivation and strength, that scorpion would not be his match even if it was in its best condition. What he was afraid of was the other fellow. That fellow's divine sense was unfathomable. It was the nether insect that lived in the nether flying ant's body. Using his divine sense as a reference, that fellow was very likely a level 10 nether insect, an existence comparable to a grand cultivator. To be safe, Lu Kuan came to the Scar of Death. Although the energy here was sparser than in the Abyss of Death, it wasn't bad. Otherwise, the little mouse in front of him wouldn't be at the core formation stage. Little guy, just stay here. Who knows, this might be your opportunity. The little black rat seemed to understand. It looked at the zombie behind the terrifying man and felt the violent fluctuations of cold energy. Its eyes revealed a hint of intelligence. However, Lu Kuan was thinking that if Priest Corpse didn't have enough cold power, he could replenish it with the inner Dan of this little mouse. Secretly locking on this level 5 zombie rat with his divine sense, Lu Kuan's eyes glowed with a golden light as he carefully observed Priest Corpse. After his spiritual power had reached the middle nascent soul stage, Lu Kuan's golden eyes had become more powerful as well. Now he could clearly see the circulation of the energy inside Priest Corpse's body. He saw that the 3-inch small nascent soul was wrapped up by a great amount of cold power inside Priest Corpse's body. Wisps of nascent soul power outside were separated into the zombie Dan, then transformed into a magical stream of energy and spread out into the zombie's body. Seeing this, Lu Kuan couldn't help but show a curious look. He thought that Priest Corpse refined the nascent soul to turn the cold power into the nascent soul power, so that the zombie Dan could possess such a high level of energy. Unexpectedly, the nascent soul power was used to nourish the zombie's body. The energy that was refined by the zombie Dan first entered Priest Corpse's bones, making them shake slightly. Nourished by the energy, the gray-black color of the bones gradually faded, and the gray-black muscles of the zombie began shaking as well, seeming to be going through some kind of change as well. But right at this moment, Priest Corpse's spirit suddenly started shaking. Although Bai Yonkai's soul was weakened to an extreme degree, it hadn't dissipated after all. The instinct of survival made his broken soul subconsciously resist. Lu Kuan pondered for a while, then waved his hand. An 8-feet-long yellow coffin appeared in the air. Then he put Priest Corpse's body into it. This coffin was made from spirit creature soul wood, which could nourish the soul. Priest Corpse's spirit was supported by the coffin and immediately gained the upper hand, suppressing Bai Yonkai's weakened soul. But then, maybe because of the resistance of the nascent soul, or because the cold power of the zombie Dan was consumed too quickly, the refining speed of the nascent soul became extremely slow. The energy that nourished the zombie's body was interrupted, and the color of the zombie's bones showed signs of darkening again. Seeing this, Lu Kuan reached out his hand without hesitation. The fat rat beside him was sucked into his hand by the power of the void. Lu Kuan gently clenched his hand and crushed the fat rat's head. He then took out an inner core from its body and threw it into Priest Corpse's mouth. This inner core was only at level 5, but contained the essence of the cold power. It immediately replenished Priest Corpse's energy, and the refining speed of the nascent soul sped up a bit. But Lu Kuan knew that this was just drinking poison to quench thirst, and the level 5 inner core would be consumed up very soon. In the Scar of Death, the undead creatures above level 5 were extremely scattered, and many of them were hidden underground. He couldn't hunt too many of them in a short time. Back then, Qin Jingshan used the corpses of devil zombies to create his clone. These corpses belonged to devil zombies above level 8, so they shouldn't need the nourishment of energy. Besides, the nether devil power in the devil zombies' bodies is much more powerful than the cold power. Plus, Qin Jingshan's secret magic was able to refine old devil Pang's nascent soul so quickly. Lu Kuan's mind raced. Priest Corpse's body is weaker than the devil zombies. Apart from stripping the power of the nascent soul, the zombie Dan also needs to consume the cold power to nourish the body. That's why the refining of the nascent soul is so slow. But Priest Corpse has already absorbed the inner core of a level 9 nether bug, which contains the cold power of the middle stage of the nascent soul level. The energy of the zombie Dan should be more than that. Could it be that the inner core of the blade scorpion hasn't been completely refined yet? Thinking of this, Lu Kuan's eyes suddenly shone. Right, let's try using the holy relic of the Netherbug clan. A bright light sparkled in his hand, within which a white crystal with clear edges and 8 glowing surfaces floated in the air. A strange sense of power spread out from the crystal. Priest Corpse seemed to be affected by something, as a strong cold power suddenly burst out from his corpse Dan. It's working. Lu Kuan put this holy relic on Priest Corpse's chest, near the zombie Dan. Under the influence of the holy relic, an incomparably strong cold power gushed out from the zombie Dan, even suppressing the cold power in the cave. Lu Kuan was pleasantly surprised. This new cold power was actually at the nascent soul level. Just as he had guessed, the inner core of the blade scorpion hasn't been completely refined yet. At this moment, under the stimulation of the holy relic, it was immediately activated. Being refined by the cold power at this level, the small nascent soul shrank at a visible speed. The power of the nascent soul was quickly refined, while the zombie Dan absorbed a great amount of energy, nourishing Priest Corpse's body. Except for the gray color of his bones, those stiff muscles of Priest Corpse began squirming. Nourished by the power of the nascent soul, black pieces of rotten flesh fell off one after another. The color of his muscles turned completely gray, and a layer of gray skin grew on the outside. As for the hideous zombie face of Priest Corpse, along with the squirming of his facial muscles and the falling of his rotten flesh, it gradually turned soft. Chapter 904. On this day, the cold energy at the border of the Death Scar and the abyss suddenly fluctuated violently, as if it was attracted by something. It turned into a gray mist whirlpool and converged toward the cave. An enormous pressure that was completely different from that of a human cultivator spread out from the center of the cave. All the undead creatures within 15 kilometers showed expressions of fear and unconsciously prostrated themselves, as if they were celebrating the birth of a king. As for the creatures beyond 30 miles, they fled in terror, wishing they had 2 more legs. Soon, a large number of dead creatures were fleeing in groups in the Death Scar. Some low-level cultivators who were adventuring in the Death Scar were dumbfounded by the changes of the dead creatures, not knowing what had happened. Some of them were quite clever. They immediately returned to their sects and informed their elders of the strange phenomenon. The Death Abyss was only 50 miles away from here. Many high-level dead creatures had sensed the strange phenomenon here. Even the level 8 creatures in the depths of the Death Scar could somewhat sense it. Those level 8 and above undead creatures were all in disbelief after discovering that the fluctuation came from the Death Scar. Due to the thin energy in the Scar of Death and the Land of Death, immortal cultivators often appeared. At most, there would be some level 5 undead creatures. If they wanted to continue to break through, they would have to enter the abyss of death and rely on the pure Een energy. Now, the strange phenomenon in the Death Scar was obviously caused by someone breaking through to level 8. Where did this guy come from? How could he break through by relying on the thin, cold energy? A few high-level undead creatures couldn't help but cast their escape arts, darting towards the edge of the death abyss. Inside the underground cave, Priest's corpse was still lying in the coffin. A large amount of cold energy was absorbed into his body. His body emitted a pressure comparable to an early nascent soul cultivator. A strong spiritual power was rising in Priest's corpse's body, advancing towards the nascent soul stage. As long as this spiritual power stabilized, Priest's corpse would completely enter the realm of silver armored corpse. Lu Kuan stood outside the coffin with a serious expression. As Priest's corpse's spiritual power rolled, a rebellious intent accompanied by a strong sense of bloodthirst attacked his soul. When he subdued Priest's corpse, he used the soul control technique of the Nine Spectres sect. This secret technique could at most control the bronze armored corpse. Facing the silver armored corpse that was about to break through, there was a problem. Lu Kuan came out this time for Priest's corpse's breakthrough, so he naturally expected this situation. 3 years ago, all the core disciples of the Spirit Transformation sect migrated to the Eastern Pond State. Fairy Fong Yuan used the power of the Oath Stone to make the disciples belong to the body refining pavilion. Therefore, Lu Kuan asked Fairy Fong Yuan for the secret technique to control Class 8 demonic beasts. This secret technique of the Spirit Transformation sect was extremely powerful. As long as a Class 8 demon beast was in a weakened state, the core formation stage cultivators of the Spirit Transformation sect could use this secret technique to subdue it. Level 8 monsters and silver armored corpses had something in common. They didn't have nascent souls, only inner cores. Moreover, their souls were also at the nascent soul stage. Since this secret technique could be used on level 8 monsters, it should be effective on silver armored corpses as well. Lu Kuan recalled this technique in his mind. He patted his chest and spat out a ball of dense blood essence. In an instant, a majestic power of blood essence filled the narrow cave. He then mobilized the life force in his body and temporarily split his demon energy into magic power and demonic power. His spiritual power began to circulate rapidly. This secret technique used his spiritual power and blood essence to form a unique control rune. Core formation stage magic power could be used. After Lu Kuan split his demon energy, he could barely use it. Not long after, under the enhancement of the secret technique, this thick mass of blood essence transformed into a profound blood essence rune. Lu Kuan waved his hand and injected the rune into the silver armored corpse's body while its soul was still in the process of transformation. If it was a level 8 monster, the blood essence rune would be imprinted on the inner core. Although Corpse Priest wasn't a monster, he also had a corpse core. The only difference was that one contained demonic spiritual power while the other contained Een energy. The moment the blood essence rune was imprinted on the corpse core, a mini scorpion shadow darted out of the corpse core. It dodged the rune mark and shot towards the underworld insect sacred artifact. Lu Kuan was shocked, but he didn't slow down. An invisible force field appeared around the underworld insect sacred artifact. Just as the mini scorpion shadow left the silver armored corpse's body, it was crushed into pieces by the force of the void. I didn't expect the razor venomous scorpion to have a part of its soul hidden in its inner core. If it weren't for this secret technique of the Spirit Transformation sect, I'm afraid it would still be hiding. Lu Kuan murmured and continued to operate the secret technique. A layer of rune mark gradually appeared outside the corpse core. Soon after, a restrictive force was emitted from the corpse core and disappeared into the transforming soul. Lu Kuan furrowed his brows. Although the resistance in the soul had disappeared, there was still a strong sense of bloodthirst. This sense of bloodthirst didn't decrease, but instead grew stronger. Lu Kuan's mind moved. He suddenly remembered Hong Yuntian's notes. In order to comprehend the underworld demonic energy, that guy cultivated the Yin energy. Later on, he devoured the flesh and blood of demonic zombies to resist the bloodthirst. Zombies are transformed from immortal cultivators' corpses by absorbing the Yin energy. After I controlled their souls, they were connected to the silver-armored corpse's soul. Therefore, the bloodthirst will affect me. Demonic corpses contain the aura of demonic energy and a huge amount of qi and blood. Lu Kuan's blood essence, is even more powerful. He directly spat out a mouthful of blood essence and directly sent it into the silver-armored corpse's mouth. Almost in the blink of an eye, the blood essence was digested. Rich qi and blood power surged on the silver-armored corpse's gray body. The somewhat withered gray skin gradually showed a bit of moisture. Sure enough, Lu Kuan felt that the bloodthirst in his mind was reduced by more than half. He spat out another mouthful of blood essence and sent it into the silver-armored corpse's mouth. The next moment, the bloodthirst completely disappeared. Lu Kuan cultivated the blood demon bone refining technique during the bone treasure stage. This secret technique was born out of the blood demon art. It could increase the density of blood. His blood density was extremely high. These few mouthfuls of blood essence had almost no effect on him. In Bai Yongkai's memory, there was a nascent soul stage elder in the blood refining sect who also had a silver-armored corpse as a servant. Did this guy also eliminate the bloodthirst through blood essence? If there is a chance in the future, I should communicate with him. As this thought flashed through his mind, Lu Kuan looked at the silver-armored corpse in the coffin. The silver-armored corpse's soul fluctuations had completely stabilized. It emitted the power of the early nascent soul stage spirit sense. However, new changes had occurred to its zombie body. In the process of refining the nascent soul, the zombie's face had already broken away from its original ferocious appearance. After absorbing his blood essence, it actually transformed into the appearance of a dignified and beautiful woman. The silver-armored corpse's withered and stiff gray body became very agile under the nourishment of the qi and blood power. The shriveled gray muscles on its chest quickly filled up. The rich corpse aura completely disappeared. What was emitted was an incomparably cold Yin aura. The woman's eyelids trembled slightly. She opened her eyes, revealing a pair of silver eyes that emitted a beautiful luster. Her mouth slightly opened, and a clear voice came out, "Master." Lu Kuan's face was sluggish. He didn't expect that the silver-armored corpse's body would undergo such a great change after absorbing the boundless blood essence. Moreover, the corpse priest was actually a female zombie. Chapter 905. The strange phenomenon of the cold Yin energy and the strange movement of the undead creature gradually attracted a few core formation cultivators. They were all elders of the small sects and families nearby. According to the description of a younger generation, they knew that this was most likely a phenomenon caused by a high-level undead creature breaking through. Thus, these few core formation cultivators formed a temporary team and followed the cold Yin energy to investigate. As a result, their divine senses detected that the core of the phenomenon was a huge pit. There were also a few hideous teeth marks on the edge of the pit, as if it was bitten by some terrifying creature. At the bottom of the pit, there was an unfathomably deep hole that emitted a pure cold Yin energy, accompanied by a terrifying aura. When these few core formation cultivators saw this scene, they looked at the death abyss in the distance. After exchanging glances, they immediately turned into streaks of light and fled. What a joke! Such a powerful aura must be an undead creature above the 8th level, and the underground hole led to the death abyss. The phenomenon just now was most likely caused by some existence breaking through to the 8th level. It seemed that it had entered the death abyss, but what if it was hiding in the hole? To an undead creature, a core formation cultivator's golden core was a great supplement. 100 miles away, a huge beetle that was 70 to 80 feet long drilled out of the gray ground of the death abyss. This black beetle was covered in an extremely thick chitin armor, emitting a powerful aura that was even stronger than that of an ordinary early nascent soul cultivator. The 16 pairs of insect legs under its body slid rapidly, carrying its huge body forward. Its wind-like speed was very inconsistent with its 70 to 80 feet long body. The black beetle crawled on the solid ground of the abyss for over 1,000 miles, until it reached the deepest part of the death abyss. This was a huge gray nest with countless intersecting rock tunnels. All kinds of strange flying ants flew back and forth in the tunnels. "King, I brought back the thing." The beetle's feelers trembled, and an early nascent soul stage divine sense was transmitted. Not long after, a flying ant the size of a fist flew out from the outermost hole. Although its body did not have much cold-ean energy, it emitted a terrifying divine sense. The black beetle felt the divine sense and bent its 16 pairs of insect legs. Its huge body crawled on the ground, and its feelers drooped down. "Let me see." The black beetle opened its huge mouth, and a huge rock that seemed to be the structure of a cave fell on the ground beside it. There seemed to be some kind of power protecting it, making the cave undamaged. The flying ant released a huge amount of divine sense and carefully probed inside. Not long after, a small ball of cold-ean energy was extracted by it. Fey Ant said via telepathy, "Black armor, you haven't been discovered by the immortal cultivators, have you?" The black beetle said respectfully, "Before breaking the seal of the abyss, I specially checked the area. There were no high-level immortal cultivators. When I came back, the seal of the abyss had automatically healed." The flying ant's antennae shook twice. "All right, you can go back. I've already taught you the method from last time. Whether or not you can break through to the 9th level will depend on your own luck." The black beetle was still crawling on the ground. Its 16 pairs of legs were trembling slightly. It slowly retreated several hundred feet before it turned around and crawled away. The flying ant's compound eyes stared at the ball of cold-ean energy in front of it, and its divine sense was a little puzzled. The aura of the nether scorpion and the nether insect sacred item. That guy's soul has already been devoured by me, and his body was also destroyed by that immortal cultivator who transformed into the long-armed demon ape. The nether insect race that immortal cultivators can control can only be low-grade zombies. Could that immortal cultivator have broken through to the 8th level through the nether scorpion's nether core and the nether insect sacred item? The flying ant opened its mouth and swallowed the ball of cold-ean energy. Its compound eyes shone with a strange light. "It is indeed the aura of the sacred item. When my strength improves, I can leave the abyss of death. At that time, I can retrieve the sacred item. According to the inherited memories of the nether scorpion, only with the sacred item in hand can I unleash the true strength of the insect king in this world." Then, the flying ant turned around and went back into the nest. Chu country, overseas of the Shiyuan state. 9 immortal cultivators with profound auras were floating in the air. These people's auras were incomparably profound. They were all existences above the nascent soul stage. The leader was an old man with an immortal aura. He wore a Taoist robe and exuded an incomparably powerful aura. He was the great elder of the Tao Yi school, the leader of the 10 great sects, Taoist Tao Yi. The Tao Yi school had set a rule that no matter what the great elder's name was, he must change it to Taoist Tao Yi's Taoist name. As for the 8 nascent soul stage cultivators behind Taoist Tao Yi, they were the elders of the 10 great sects of the Chu country. All of them were watching below, the famous Abyss Island in the outer seas. At this time, the Abyss Island was very different from before. The restrictive light on the island had disappeared without a trace. The once bustling island was gone. Other than the rich spiritual energy, there were no other immortal cultivators. After an unknown period of time, a huge rumbling sound came from the depths of the sea. The Abyss Island began to shake violently. The surrounding seawater was greatly compressed, forming huge waves that slammed in all directions. Following the violent shaking, the Abyss Island sank into the depths of the sea. Countless buildings on the island were smashed by the turbulent waves. The rumbling sound was incessant. The 9 nascent soul stage cultivators in the sky seemed to have known that the Abyss Island would sink. They stared at the scene below without blinking. Suddenly, in the blue sea, there was an incomparably huge shadow that separated from the bottom of the Abyss Island. This shadow was almost the same size as the Abyss Island. It swam towards the direction of the outer sea at an astonishing speed. In 10 breaths, it disappeared from everyone's sight. At this time, the Abyss Island was completely submerged by the sea. After a long time, Taoist Tao, he slowly said, "This should be that senior's black tortoise demon king. This old man just found out not long ago that the Abyss Island was built on the back of the black tortoise demon king." The other nascent soul stage cultivators also showed a complicated expression. The Abyss Island that was jointly owned by the 10 great sects was actually built on the back of a black tortoise that was comparable to the spirit severing stage. They had all cultivated on the Abyss Island before. Now that they thought about it, they couldn't help but shudder. A red-robed man couldn't help but ask, "Brother Tao, did Signorine really pass away?" The other nascent soul stage cultivators also looked at Taoist Tao, revealing a nervous expression. Taoist Tao sighed. Although Senior Een had a secret technique and symbiosis with the Black Tortoise Demon King, she was after all a human cultivator. Her lifespan had already reached its limit. The only thing she could do was to restrict the Demon King from the outer sea. No matter what, the invasion of the demon beast from the outer sea cannot be stopped. Looking around at the expressions of the other 8 people, Taoist Tao added, "This demon beast invasion may not be an opportunity for the cultivators of the Chu country. For tens of thousands of years, not to mention 8th level demon beasts, even 6th and 7th level demon beasts are very difficult to find in the inner sea. If a large number of demon beasts invade, it means a large number of demon cores." A young-looking man smiled and said, "Brother Dowie is right. Yao cores can be used to refine elixirs that can improve one's cultivation. If we can obtain a Yao core above the 8th level, our cultivation can improve further." Taoist Tao nodded and said with a solemn expression, "The Extreme Devil Palace is a subordinate sect of the Blood Refining sect. It has already been recalled to the southern region of the Qi Kingdom. Now there are only 9 sects left in the Chu country. We need to make a good plan. Everyone, please follow me." Then these nascent soul stage cultivators, under the leadership of Taoist Tao, flew inland. Chapter 906. Song Prefecture of Wei Nation. On this day, all the disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect were excited. Today was the Heavenly Sword sect sword competition that was held every 50 years. All the Foundation Establishment sword cultivators would participate to compete for rankings and obtain rewards from the sect. Ever since the Heavenly Sword sect annexed the 9 Underworld sect a few decades ago, their strength had increased by a lot. The number of Foundation Establishment cultivators had doubled, and there were more than 200 of them. It could be said that this sword competition had the most people in the Heavenly Sword sect in thousands of years. At the same time, the competition was even more intense. All the Foundation Establishment cultivators were eager to stand out in the competition. It was said that the nascent soul elders of the Heavenly Sword sect attached great importance to this competition and specially increased the number of people in the Sword Valley from 3 to 5. In other words, the top 5 Heavenly Sword sect disciples could enter the Sword Valley to comprehend sword intent in addition to obtaining a bottle of spirit-strengthening pills to stabilize their meridians. If they could comprehend sword intent, the chances of condensing a sword core would be greatly increased. Many Foundation Establishment cultivators knew that Senior Brother Linghu Fei, the champion of the previous sword competition, had successfully comprehended sword intent in the Sword Valley and converted his late-stage foundation establishment dermic powers into sword intent dermic powers. Later on, senior brother Linghu Fei successfully broke through and entered the core formation stage. His sword intent was dense, and he could even fight against a mid-stage core formation stage martial uncle. Due to the large number of people, the sword competition was arranged in the middle section of the Heavenly Sword Peak. There was a rock platform that was a few hundred feet wide, enough to accommodate 10 arenas. As the light screens of restrictions rose from the arenas, 10 shocking sword lights appeared in the sky above the Heavenly Sword Peak. There was an elegant figure standing on each flying sword. They descended from the sky with a majestic and sharp aura and landed on the 10 arenas. The sword intent pressure of the core formation sword cultivators made all the disciples quiet down. The voice of the core formation elder in the center resounded throughout the entire platform. You all know the rules, so I won't repeat them. However, the great elder has just issued a decree. The top 3 of this competition will receive additional rewards from the great elder. When the elder finished speaking, the eyes of the more than 20 late-stage Foundation establishment sword cultivators on the platform lit up, revealing a look of determination. The Grand Elder was a sword cultivator in the middle stage of the nascent soul stage. Not to mention the additional rewards, just being able to see the Grand Elder was enough to make them extremely excited. Outside of the third battle arena, a young man in a black robe curled his lips, as if he didn't care about the reward. He looked at the Fierce Foundation establishment late-stage sword cultivators with a headache. Master is really something. He wants me to participate in the Heavenly Sword Sex Grand Competition and enter the top 5. He doesn't allow me to use the techniques of a body cultivator. Doesn't he know that these sword cultivators in the late stage of Foundation establishment have ferocious attacks? This distressed youth was Huang Xiaoyan. Originally, Lu Kuan had said that he would directly enter the Sword Valley, but later on, he changed his mind and allowed him to participate in the Heavenly Sword Sex large competition, saying that he would be able to gain a deeper understanding of the Heavenly Sword Sex techniques. I don't care. If it doesn't work, I'll just use the shuriken technique of those martial artists. Although it uses the power of the flesh, it looks similar to the flying sword technique. Well, that's it. The old man who spoke in the middle looked around and paused on Huang Xiaoyun for a moment. His gaze was a little strange, and then he announced, "The sword competition officially begins." At the top of the Heavenly Sword Peak, 3 figures sat in a pavilion. There was no sword origin wine on the stone table, but a pot of tea filled with spiritual energy. 2 of them were Yu Longfei and Lu Kuan. As for the third person, she was a beautiful woman. Her entire body emitted an icy cold aura. Although her skin was gray, it was filled with a watery luster. In addition to the color of her skin, this woman's clothing was also different from ordinary women. She wore a tight, black outfit that accentuated her graceful figure. She was dressed like a mortal martial artist. Lu Kuan drank a mouthful of tea and used his divine sense to look at the sword competition below. He sighed, "Brother Yu, the Heavenly Sword Sex strength is truly extraordinary. They actually have so many Foundation establishment disciples, almost twice as many as the Yang clan in the past. The Body Refining Pavilion still has too few Foundation establishment disciples." Yu Longfei modestly said, "The Body Refining Pavilion has a powerhouse like Master Lu overseeing it. Its future development will definitely be above the Heavenly Sword Sect." He glanced at the woman beside Lu Kuan and said, "Master Lu, you've been here for a while. I haven't introduced this fairy yet." Lu Kuan's expression froze for a moment before he smiled and said, "I almost forgot. This is Serene, an elder of the Body Refining Pavilion." Yu Longfei cupped his hands towards the woman and said, "So it's Fairy Sure. Yu Longfei greets you." The woman named Serene blinked her silver eyes and ignored Yu Longfei. Instead, she looked at Lu Kuan. Lu Kuan lightly coughed and said, "Brother Yu, please don't be offended. Serene, Er's cultivation method is special. She's not good at socializing. Yu Longfei shook his head indifferently and said, if I'm not wrong, this fairy sure is also at the nascent soul stage. Lu Kuan nodded and said, yes, Ener just broke through to the nascent soul stage not long ago. However, her cultivation is not stable yet. Compared to a nascent soul stage powerhouse like Brother Yu, she's far behind. Yu Longfei's mouth twitched. He didn't believe Lu Kuan's nonsense and secretly guessed the strength of this fairy sure. With his insight, he could see that this fairy sure had just broken through and her spiritual sense was not completely stable. However, her strength was definitely not as simple as Lu Kuan said. This fairy sure sat opposite him. The bone-deep cold aura made his hair stand on end, and he had to use his mana to resist. The nascent soul in his body also showed a bit of uneasiness. This meant that this fairy sure's close combat ability was the strongest. Obviously, she was the same as this Master Lu, a body-refining method. How did this body-refining pavilion develop? In more than 100 years, other than Lu Kuan, there's also a nascent soul stage cultivator. Among the disciples of the Yang clan who escaped, there doesn't seem to be this woman. Lu Kuan looked at Yu Longfei's change of expression and was a little surprised. He deliberately didn't introduce her at the beginning so that Yu Longfei could investigate. He didn't expect that this nascent soul stage sword cultivator couldn't see that serene was actually a silver-armored corpse. Lu Kuan faintly felt that this change in the silver-armored corpse was related to his blood essence. Since the silver-armored corpse broke through 2 years ago and he fed it his blood essence, the bloodthirsty feeling would appear once every year. It had to swallow his blood essence. Lu Kuan felt that it was a little troublesome, so he simply stimulated a large amount of blood essence and fed the silver-armored corpse until it was full. According to his estimation, the silver-armored corpse wouldn't show any bloodthirsty feeling for at least 50 years. After the silver-armored corpse absorbed his majestic blood essence, the last bit of corpse chi disappeared. Except for the gray skin, it looked like a female cultivator who cultivated a Ina tribute method. Lu Kuan thought, if other cultivators subdued the silver-armored corpse, it would most likely show a bloodthirsty feeling. Not only was the blood essence of cultivators thinner than his, the power of chi and blood in it was also much weaker. Every time a cultivator fed blood essence, they should be very frugal, just to reduce the bloodthirsty feeling. Perhaps no cultivator would be like him, feeding so much blood essence. Even if a nascent soul stage cultivator's body was completely refined and squeezed dry, the blood essence wouldn't be comparable to 1 or 2 mouthfuls of Lu Kuan. Lu Kuan was completely relieved when he saw that Yu Longfei didn't find anything. With this layer of disguise, serene would greatly reduce the vigilance of cultivators. Who would have thought that such a graceful and beautiful woman would be a ferocious and terrifying silver-armored corpse? Chapter 907. Yu Longfei secretly kept his guard up against serene. He took a sip of tea and said, Master Lu's information was indeed correct. Old Demon Pang failed to break through to the soul formation stage and died. The 3 great demon sects of the state of Qi could erupt into war at any time. The blood-refining sect has lost this top powerhouse, and the overall strength of the sect has been greatly reduced. The blood-refining sect's subordinate sect in the Chu country, the Supreme Devil Palace, has been recalled to the southern continent. Next, it is very likely that they will ask for help from the Miraculous Gate. After all, the blood-refining sect does not have a great cultivator to oversee it. Lu Kuan shook his head and said, That's not necessarily true. I'm afraid the outside world doesn't know that Qian Jingshan of the blood-refining sect has already entered the late nascent soul stage. Besides the Supreme Devil Palace, the Rogue Cultivator Alliance of the state of Qi's Western Province is also an ally of the blood-refining sect. Yu Longfei's expression changed. What? Qian Jingshan has become a great cultivator. and the rogue Cultivator alliance. Lu Kuan said, the Seven Fiends sect and the Yin Yang sect still don't know about the rogue Cultivator alliance and Qian Jingshan. The blood refining sect wants to use these two underhanded methods to trick the two evil sects. That's why the blood refining sect won't seek help from the miraculous gate in the short term. After all, Shi Jingtian was injured by old Devil Pang. Yu Longfei calmed himself down and couldn't help but sigh. The blood refining sect is worthy of being called a great sect of the Devil Dao. Even without old Monster Pang, their power is still so terrifying. They are much stronger than the Shangqing sect of the past. Although the combined strength of the Seven Fiends sect and the Yin Yang sect is strong, they won't go all out. Instead, the blood refining sect has the advantage. Lu Kuan coldly snorted. We must put the blood refining sect at a disadvantage. That way, they will find the miraculous gate and even let old Devil Shi come out of seclusion. Yu Longfei's expression changed. Could it be that Master Lu wants to? Lu Kuan's eyes flashed with a golden light. I'm afraid that the people of the blood refining sect don't know that I, Lu Kuan, know so many things. As long as I secretly obstruct them, the blood refining sect's plan will fail. He had searched by Yonkai's soul and learned a lot of information. With this information and his strength, he could definitely make a deal with the two great demon sects. Regarding the refining of bone transformation weapons, he still needs a lot of reference, especially the refining method of top demonic treasures. He even needs some demonic tools. Only the top demonic sect may have these. Yu Longfei nodded gently. He completely believed that Lu Kuan had gone to the state of Qi to create trouble in secret. After being in contact with this Master Lu for so long, he could only determine that Lu Kuan's cultivation base was at the peak of the middle nascent soul stage through the latter's spiritual sense and powerful combat prowess. As for the dermic powers in Lu Kuan's body, no matter what kind of spell he used, he could not detect it. In other words, Lu Kuan could easily hide his cultivation level. Coupled with his body cultivation, he could easily blend into the battlefield of the state of Qi. Yu Longfei pondered for a moment and said, then the opportunity for us to start the war is when the blood refining sect seeks help from the miraculous gate. Lu Kuan's eyes were cold as he said, if old Devil Shi comes out, then we will immediately attack the miraculous gate. If the miraculous gate sends out other nascent soul cultivators to help the blood refining sect, then we will join forces to ambush them. If we join forces, they will definitely die. Yu Longfei revealed a trace of excitement as he said, then we will kill our way to the Yang mountain range. With Fairy Shi, two nascent soul, sword cultivators, and two body cultivators, the two old fellows of the spirit sect will not be able to survive. In this way, the demon sect will only have one nascent soul cultivator besides old Devil Shi. When the time comes, as long as Master Lu entangles old Devil Shi, the miraculous gate will definitely be destroyed. Lu Kuan's eyes were cold as he said, but before that, we should first settle our worries. Yu Longfei's expression changed slightly as he said with some hesitation, Master Lu, are you talking about the Green Alliance? That's right. The Wei country is neither big nor small. We have to take this opportunity to completely reshuffle the cards. Lu Kuan looked at Yu Longfei and said, Brother Yu, do you think that we can't destroy the Green Alliance? Yu Longfei smiled bitterly and said, with our combined strength, the Green Alliance is naturally not a problem. I'm just afraid that when we deal with the Green Alliance, the miraculous gate will be vigilant. Yu Longfei had always felt uneasy about Lu Kuan's ambition. This feeling became even stronger after he met Shi Ying. If the miraculous gate was destroyed, the Heavenly Sword sect's power would increase greatly. However, the body refining pavilion would be the same. The alliance between the two parties would only last for 50 years. If the body refining pavilion attacked the Heavenly Sword sect in the future, what would they do? With the Green Alliance, the body refining pavilion would at least be a little cautious. Although old Devil Li of the Qingyang sect had exhausted his lifespan, he used a secret technique to transfer the power of his nascent soul to a disciple of his sect. This person's cultivation would be stuck at the beginner stage of the nascent soul stage, but he would still be a nascent soul stage cultivator. Including the Heavenly Sword sect, the other powers in the Wei country had 4 nascent soul stage cultivators. They could barely maintain a balance with the body refining pavilion. Lu Kuan looked at Yu Longfei's expression and seemed to know what he was thinking. He smiled and said, "Brother Yu's words make sense. If the Green Alliance were to defend their base, it would indeed be a little troublesome. Let's put it aside for now. All right, Brother Yu, you hope that Lu can teach you a secret technique that is suitable for sword cultivators to strengthen their meridians. Lu already has some ideas, but this secret technique has some limitations." Yu Longfei's spirits were lifted. He said, "Master Lu, please tell me." Lu Kuan said, "This secret technique can only be cultivated by low-level cultivators. For nascent soul stage cultivators like Brother Yu, I'm afraid you won't be able to cultivate it." Yu Longfei couldn't help but ask why. Lu Kuan explained, "This technique involves the power of life. It can only be cultivated by cultivators below the age of 50. Only by slowly nourishing the meridians can the meridians be strengthened to an extremely tough state." Yu Longfei couldn't understand. He said unwillingly, "I've already explained the situation of my meridians to Master Lu. Is there no other way to strengthen them? If you want to help Brother Yu, there's only one way." "What way?" The corner of Lu Kuan's mouth curled up. "Then I will personally control the energy unique to body cultivators to help fellow Taoist you strengthen his meridians. However, during the cultivation process, fellow Taoist Yu's conjured physique will be under my control. Furthermore, this method is only a preliminary idea. We don't know how effective it will be." When Yu Longfei heard this, he smiled bitterly. "If Master Lu wanted to make a move on me, he would have already done so. I believe that. However, the difference between my conjure body and Master Lu's is too great. If it's damaged, then the losses will outweigh the gains." Lu Kuan said, "A technique that can be cultivated by low-level cultivators involves the core cultivation method of the body refining pavilion. I'm afraid Lu won't be able to exchange it." Yu Longfei could only reveal a regretful expression. Lu Kuan took a sip of spirit tea. In fact, he didn't have any secret technique to strengthen his meridians. If he wanted to strengthen his meridians, then he would have to cultivate his body refining art from the beginning. He knew what Yu Longfei was thinking. If the Heavenly Rapier sect had a secret technique to strengthen their meridians, not to mention the entire sect, Yu Longfei's own strength would increase by a lot. At the very least, it would be much easier to use the ability to absorb the sharpness into his body. Lu Kuan thought the exact opposite. The Heavenly Rapier sect's sword cultivation method should be incorporated into his body refining pavilion to perfect the gold essence body refining art. Although he didn't have any secret technique to strengthen his meridians, Lu Kuan had some ideas on how to help a nascent soul stage cultivator like Yu Longfei strengthen his meridians. However, he needed to test it on a nascent soul stage cultivator's conjure body. Lu Kuan didn't want to destroy the Heavenly Rapier sect. It would be best if he could annex it. If he had this method, it would only be a matter of time before the Heavenly Rapier sect belonged to the body refining pavilion. If this method didn't work, then he would have to use force. Chapter 908. On the middle peak platform of the Heavenly Sword sect, the sword competition had entered its final stage. Everyone was gathered around the last sword battle arena. There were only 2 disciples left, and they would decide the 5th and 6th place. The difference between 5th and 6th place could be said to be like heaven and earth. 5th place meant a chance to comprehend sword intent, while 6th place only had some pills to stabilize the meridians as a reward. Of these 2 disciples, one was a young man wearing a black robe. Although the robe was loose, many disciples could feel that this person's body was sturdy. The other was a petite woman. She had a dignified expression, and the sword in her hands flashed incessantly. She controlled 2 bronze longswords and waved them in the air, attacking 2 short swords that were 1 foot long. These 2 short swords were very strange. The sword body took up half of it, and it looked like the tip of an ordinary longsword. The other half was the hilt. Rather than calling it a hilt, it was more like a small wooden stick. A wooden stick and a sword tip. It looked neither fish nor fowl. The 2 strange short swords were very flexible. Under the young man's control, they constantly dodged the bronze longswords. The surrounding heavenly sword sect disciples could see that these short swords were only ordinary level 3 spiritual immortal treasures. Besides being flexible, there was nothing special about them. It seemed that as long as the bronze longswords hit the short sword a few times, they would be able to win. Muwana didn't think so. She didn't know why, but she felt that this guy called Huang Xiaoyun was hiding his strength. During the battle, she would feel a trace of fear from time to time, as if he had the strength to kill her. Although this person wasn't proficient in the sword control technique and couldn't use the power of metal element spiritual power, like a disciple who had just learned the sword control technique, his spiritual power was very vigorous and could continue to be exhausted. In the previous battles, Huang Xiaoyun had relied on his vigorous spiritual power to forcefully exhaust his opponents and rush to this ranking. No matter what your goal is for hiding your strength, Mu Wanting, will take this Valley of Swords spot. She looked at the nonchalant Huang Xiaoyun and swallowed a lust pill. A powerful and sharp aura gushed out from her body. The 2 swords seemed to have achieved some kind of resonance and quickly fused together, turning into a golden longsword that breathed in and out golden sword chi. Although her spiritual will was average, she was well-versed in the sword-nurturing techniques of her sect. The metal spirit dual swords had accompanied her for 100 years, and they had been refined from low-grade immortal treasures all the way to level 3 spiritual immortal treasures. She and her swords were the same, and she could fully utilize the power of a set of immortal treasures. Furthermore, the sword origin pill that he had just swallowed could increase the power of the sword manipulation technique by 30%. The strength of his attack had completely reached the peak of the foundation establishment stage. Huang Xiaoyun seemed to have felt the power of the golden longsword. With a wave of his hand, the 2 short swords were kept in his sleeves. Then, an extremely thick golden shield appeared around his body. He had directly taken defensive measures. Mu Wanting's eyes flashed with a trace of sharpness. Her small hand pinched a sword sign, and the golden longsword issued a cheerful sword cry, turning into a dazzling sword light that rushed forward. This person is really stupid. Doesn't he know that the essence of a sword cultivator is to attack? A powerful attack is the strongest defense. Blindly thinking about defense is already a failure. But at this moment, 4 extremely dazzling lights suddenly flashed on the battle arena, like silver lightning across the sky. Clang! The harsh sound of metal clashing reverberated. Mu Wanting felt 4 extremely terrible and sharp forces fiercely bombarding her metal spirit dual swords. At this moment, she could even hear a painful whine from the longsword. In the next moment, the metal spirit dual swords trembled and split into 2 bronze swords again. The aura dimmed and fell down. Almost at the same time, the sword shield outside her body also shattered. 4 strange short swords, 1 foot long, floated on her forehead, exuding a piercing sharpness. Mu Wanting's face was pale. How can there be such a fast sword control technique? The power of the short swords has almost doubled. The disciples of the Heavenly Sword sect surrounding the battle arena were also dumbfounded. Most of them only saw a few silver lights flash, and then Mu Wanting's sword shield shattered and the combined longsword scattered. The sword cultivators who made it into the top 10 had a solemn expression on their faces, especially the top 4. All of them were looking at Huang Xiaoyun with dread in their eyes. With their powerful spiritual sense, they were barely able to capture the scene just now. When Huang Xiaoyun released the golden shield, 4 short swords fell from his sleeve and were sandwiched between the 5 fingers of his right hand. Then, while his left hand pinched a sword sign, The 4 short swords were swung out by his arm. They felt that they might be seeing things. Why did the sword control technique need to be thrown out with the power of the arm? Was it some kind of sword art that required the arm to be waved? Yes, it must be like this. With the support of this powerful sword control technique, the 4 short swords were like lightning. They were almost twice as fast as the sword control technique and accurately hit the gold spirit sword. Not only was the speed so fast, but the power of the short swords seemed to have doubled. Not only did they break the gold spirit sword, but they also broke Mu Wanting's sword shield. The top 4 sword cultivators couldn't help but ponder. Facing these 4 short swords, could they take it? The one who presided over the battle arena was the white-haired old man. He was the top core formation sword cultivator in the sect, so he naturally knew of Huang Xiaoyun's origin. The white-haired old man was secretly amazed. The body refining pavilion was really not a small matter. The combination of physical strength and the sword control technique could erupt with such power. It was definitely not as simple as 1 + 1. In addition to physical strength, it seemed that the body refining pavilion's strongest point was their defense. When sword cultivators joined hands, they could exert the greatest attack. He couldn't help but look forward to the upcoming sect war. The thought flashed through his mind. The white-haired old man slowly said, "In this sword competition, Huang Xiaoyun is the winner. He is 5th in the sword competition. Mu Wanting is 6th. Huang Xiaoyun breathed a sigh of relief. He finally got the qualification to enter the Sword Valley. He patted the storage bag on his waist. In addition to the 4 short swords, there were many strange short weapons. There were triangular daggers, cross-shaped darts, and pentagonal blades. These unique weapons were the hidden weapons of the body refining pavilion's martial artists. The fingertips of each hand could hold 4 of them. With the terrifying physical strength of the body, the power was amazing. Many martial artists relied on the shurikens to secretly kill many cultivators. The true use of the shurikens was for sneak attacks and assassinations. It was a bit of a waste for him to use them in a sword competition. Thinking of this, Huang Xiaoyun was a bit nervous. The attack just now borrowed the sword control technique of the Heavenly Rapier sect, but it still relied on the physical strength of the body tempering stage. He didn't know if his master would punish him. Mu Wanting looked at the absent-minded Huang Xiaoyun and showed an unwilling expression. She gritted her teeth and said, "Huang Xiaoyun, what kind of sword control technique is this?" "Shurikens," Huang Xiaoyun said casually. He then cupped his hands to the white-haired old man and jumped off the battle arena. He walked toward the first 4 sword cultivators. Mu Wanting clenched the bronze sword in her hand and remembered the words shurikens in her heart. Not only her, but the surrounding disciples of the Heavenly Rapier sect also knew of a terrifying sword control technique. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.